it to trial. Take it to trial. Welcome in, grab a seat, hit the like and subscribe. Cause Sweet Peas on the mic with that spicy little vibe. Got the courtroom screaming in the chat, going wild with the debating heavy topics. Still laughing like a child. From objections to confessions to the judge's side. If it's justice in this messy, we gon' talk about why. Every day's a new case, every moment's a ride. And when Sweet Peas in the building, we be learning with pride. Minds on deck, keep the room running smooth. Film free therapist, you know, keeping everyone in the groove. White told with the facts, pretty brown girl with the stats. Morelia and Fowler, keep the peace in the chat. But Jason walks in and the ladies can laugh. Chocolate, take it to trial, where the truth gets loud and the last run wild. Sweet Peas got the spice, she's the queen of the house. Chat band rolling deep, we been here a while. Lights on, lights up, we gon' do this high. Take it to trial, every day, every night. Take it to trial, trial. Morning shows are sharp, afternoon is on fire. And we catch every moment that the court might inspire. From witnesses whispering, the lawyers trying hard. You know Sweet Pea breaks it down like a legal tarot card. Cracking jokes, dropping theories on the fly. We're serious when it comes, but we still testify. Minds hold it down when the trolls try to play. If you're out of line, court adjourned for the day. But when Jason logs in with that deep hello sound, the ladies in the chat, man, they all fall down.
Distractions.
After the dark gets spicy, no secrets to keep. Taboo topics, big laughs, slap happy crews. Sweet Pea says behave, but we never really do. It's opinions, confessions, stories untold, but we handle it with heart like the chat made it go. Take it to trial, from day to night and every wild mile. Sweet Peas and strong with her trademark style. And in the fam and in the chat always makes it worthwhile. Turn it up, show some love, hit the like on sight. Take it to trial. Yeah, we live tonight. Take it to trial. Yeah, we live tonight. Take it to trial.
Thank you.
I don't know. So this scene kind of like weird to do. You know, I was just really hoping that they were going to be like, hey Ruth, I was hoping that they were going to still be at lunch. And guess what? They just came back from lunch. Not the Lindsay's trial, guys. Just so y'all know. So kind of like at a loss in this one. Gosh, they came back from lunch really quick. Or did they go to break? I don't know. Okay, well, let's look at these. Let me go ahead and we'll go through what I consider to be bombshells. Now, I know a lot of people watch the Karen Reed trial. What I will say is that on day 14, I know a lot of people kept telling me, oh my gosh, Ian is on the stand, Ian is on the stand, Ian is on the stand. And I'm like, who the hell is Ian? And what is all these problems with Ian? I have no clue. I have no clue who Ian is. So when I kept hearing Ian is on the stand, Ian is on the stand, I can't believe anything Ian says. Ian. It's like I have no clue who that is. Okay, so with that being said, let me go ahead and I am going to show this. Because I didn't know who Ian was, so I didn't figure it out. Yeah, Fernandez is at lunch, Ruth. Yeah, we'll head back over there in a minute. This shouldn't take us that long over here. I'm just going to do some highlights over here in regards to Lindsay, only because we're not going to be able to probably cover it every day. Like, it should be coming closer to an end, though, but At least I'll have the coverage, this part out there for our day 14 and 15. But here we go, guys. So the first thing that I brought up was, let me get my courtroom. The first clip that I have is just going to be a small clip in regards to Ian talking about the Apple Watch timeline. This part is the digital forensic. He's the digital forensics guy, right? He's the Cellbrite guy from everything that I've seen. And he's pulling Lindsay's phone and Apple Watch data from that day of the unalivings. You know what I do find very interesting, guys? They found her Apple iWatch in her drawer. So a lot of things during this psychosis, I feel like she knew, like, things to do. Like, she knew, depending on what time you want to say the psychosis started, she knew when she went upstairs after unaliving the baby, she knew to lock the door. Because remember, we had evidence that the door was locked. If this Apple Watch is captured, because they're saying that the times is, I believe, from 5:33 to 5:38 is the window. She knew to take her Apple Watch off and put it in her drawer. Because remember, that's where they found it, in the drawer. Even though it wasn't collected, it was found in the drawer. So she knew certain things. I don't know. That stuff like that kind of like, But like I said, I'm only going off of what things that I've seen. So, and heard, but that sounds very, I don't know how that works, with the psychosis. Maybe somebody can tell us, like, they be like zombie like but knows everything that they're doing. So let's go into our guy here. I'm gonna call this Susie guy because Susie kept coming in the chat like, oh my gosh, Ian. And I was like, who the hell is Ian? That must be Susie's guy. What's up, Frank? So let's listen to what he got to say about that time period.
Case where someone else did the extraction and provided the information to you and you did the analysis?
Correct. Yeah. Whenever I'm helping customers or users of our tools, they may provide me and make available to others. And I still use those tools to this day.
And these tools that you used, are those the tools that allow you to examine and categorize the information, the data that you find in the extraction?
Yes, the primary point of the tool is to go into the data, decode it, provide it in a way which is easy to filter and search, but also additional tools there that allow you to dig into the data and look at the raw information, database files, all of the raw information, which is what our tools initially decode.
And did you focus in on a particular time frame when looking at the data on the defendant's iPhone?
Primarily I knew the date of the incident was 24th of January 2003, so that was the main focus of my analysis. But some of the data I was aware could be from further afield than that, so I took a look at, I think it was around 3 weeks before that, so early January to late January.
Were you able to look at the health data on January 24th, 2023 that was in the defendant's phone extraction?
I was, yes.
And what is health data? And how does it show up on a phone?
The user of the phone would be able to access the health data via the health application, where the information is broken down to explain how many steps have been taken over a particular period of time, the approximate distance that was travelled, the number of stair flights that were climbed. That data is stored on the device itself in a database. So as a forensic examiner, I can take a look at that database in its raw form, understand exactly where that information is coming from, and present it to the user of our forensic tools in a slightly more forensic-friendly method than the user of the application on the phone would see.
Showing you on the screen here, page 4 of your report. Looking here, we have a section here, heart rate data, is that correct?
Correct.
And you're able to see here, what can you tell about the heart rate data from the extraction?
So heart rate data comes from wearing an Apple Watch or a similar device, not from the phone itself. In the case of this phone, there was an Apple Watch paired to the device, and all of the heart rate data, which is recorded periodically throughout the day, is stored within the health database.
And what was the name associated with the Apple Watch?
So as it says in the third paragraph down, the Apple Watch itself was called Lindsay's Apple Watch.
And here in the report, you're able to show the recorded heart rates throughout the day. How is the heart rate recorded and sent to the phone?
There are sensors on the Apple Watch itself on the rear, which periodically check the heart rate at any given time, and that information is sent to the phone via Bluetooth.
And are you aware of how often an iWatch will record the data and report it to an iPhone?
The actual cadence at which the watch is checked.
You also mentioned flight climb data. What is that?
Flight climb is information which the Apple Health application stores every time it detects that you walk up a flight of stairs. So a flight of stairs would be considered either a 3-meter or 10-foot incline over 16 steps. So the device has detected that both the altitude has changed by 10 feet and there were steps being walked at the same time.
So there's two factors being considered there: the steps that your watch monitors as you walk, and then the altitude. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what is it? Is it GPS or something that's keeping track of your altitude?
The altitude is being monitored by a barometer or an altimeter, which is inside the device, just measuring for differences in air pressure.
And this information, the flight climb data, can that be monitored by both a watch and your phone if you have it on you?
It is. Both devices have got the barometers built in. Both devices can monitor flight climb events.
Can anything simulate or kind of fake out the watch or the phone into thinking that a flight of stairs is being climbed when it's not?
There are some circumstances where that can happen. They're typically quite rare, but it can happen.
Is an example of that being in a car and going up a hill?
Correct, yes. If there is movement which the device can mistake for steps at the same time as the incline is being driven, then that could accidentally record a flight climb.
But if a person's not in a car and is in their home, then it would be flights climbed, not hills being driven, correct?
Correct. If the person is in a house and there are flight climbs being recorded, then the only rational explanation is that the person was climbing stairs.
How is going to page 12 of your report? Looks like you started here on January 10th, 2023, is that correct?
That's correct.
And basically here you list various searches that occurred on each day between January 10th and January 24th from the extraction, is that correct?
That's correct. Broken down by day with the time of the search, the website that was visited, the title of the web page, and then the identifier in the database.
And looking at these searches, on January 12th, 2023, at 1948, so that would be 7:48 p.m., is that correct?
Correct.
There was a search. In the title it says, "How quickly does Wellbutrin work for depression?" Is that the title? Is that what the user is putting into the search?
If I could see the search, please.
I'll zoom in on that.
Yes, so the top entry here we can see starts with https://google.com/search $Q. The text after the Q, how quickly does Wellbutrin work, is what the user searched. Typically that is exactly as the user typed it, assuming that there are no auto-completions in place. In this particular case, it appears it was searched using Safari, so there's no auto-completion. That is essentially what the user typed in. And then the title, how quickly does Wellbutrin, I can't say that word, I'm afraid. Wellbutrin, thank you. Work for depression, Google search, is the title of the page which Google assigns.
So where it says after the Q, how plus, quickly plus, does plus, the user's not putting in those pluses, correct? Is that, what were you calling those?
So that's part of the attribute. It's how the data is encoded in a URL or in a web search. You can't have spaces within this address string, so they replace the spaces with the plus symbol. So
I type in how quickly does, and the computer adds the pluses in the space marks?
Yes, it's URL encoding to make it safe for the browser.
And then at 7:49, there's a search for Lamictal for depression.
Yes, and depression spelled with a B at the end instead of an N, which demonstrates that this is what the user typed in rather than a page that was being visited.
And then a few minutes later at 7:55 p.m., the user typed in Elavil for depression, correct?
Correct. It's safe for the browser.
Then on page 16, on January 18th, 2023, at 10:25, we have a search there, ketamine for suicidal ideation, is that correct?
Correct.
And again, that's the user typing that in?
Yeah, again, those words were typed in by the user.
And then on January 19th, 2023, on page 17 of your report, we have symptoms of postpartum psychosis searched on January 19th.
Correct.
And again, so we're looking at, this is AM, correct? 9:24 AM that was searched?
Yes, the morning.
And then 9:30 AM, there's another search for psychosis symptoms?
Yes.
Going back to that same page, page 17, at the bottom for January 24th, we have here searches for Kids Miralax at 4:02 p.m. and Takeout 3V at 4:13 p.m., is that correct?
That's correct.
And then CDS Pharmacy at 4:47 p.m., correct?
Correct.
There was also an Apple note that you found in the records, correct?
That was.
The Apple note, in your report it says it was created on December 22nd, 2022 at 10:23 a.m., strike that, and then modified at 10:23 a.m. on January 23rd, 2023, correct?
Correct.
And are you able to tell what in the note was modified?
No, there's no real auditable log to look back and see how many times it's been modified over the course of its life. I was able to do some amount of recovery to see that on the day it was created, it started in a very similar way to as it's written on the 24th or 23rd of January, but the exact changes between when it first was created and the last time it was modified, we don't know.
And then you also looked at messages, correct?
Correct.
And were you able to compile the messages that were sent and received between the defendant and her mother and the defendant and her husband on January 24th, 2023?
I did, yes.
And were you able to arrange it using the tools that you use in a way that looks like you might see it on your phone?
Yeah, I tried to prepare it in a report, which would be easy for any viewer.
So as you guys would see, he brings in the information in regards to, you know, I don't know if a lot of people in the courtroom even know his character from the last case. Like, I don't know it. So typically when you have a forensic guy up there, unless they're going to have somebody come like deny all the forensics, the only thing that I can see is that the watch data from the day of the killings, the watch, from 5:33 to 5:38, the window, that's when the watch kind of shows activity right before it goes dark. Now, the prosecution, of course, they using this to build their timeline, first of all, and to show her activity. Like he's saying she was running up the stairs. You know, this is, this actually matches a person running up the stairs or what their heartbeat is at that point in time. And like I said, my other thing is that if she had her watch on and her watch was moving, she did have the wherewithal not to mess up her watch or, you know, cut past her watch or whatever she was doing, because remember, she did try to self-delete, and she put her watch in the drawer. So he also went over the searches that she had in regards to her postpartum psychosis. These are things that she was looking up. And of course, the defense is, you know, they're going to counter that and say, okay, this is a person that's looking for help. So she is looking for everything, anything that can explain exactly what's wrong with her when she's making these different searches. But I think on the other hand, if you're the prosecution, you're like, okay, she's looking up how to commit these horrific redrums, the planning, those types of things. So this is the attempt of the prosecution team, in my opinion, just trying to research what her diagnosis is, her own mental health, and this was just days before the unaliving. Now, the next part that I am going to skip to is just kind of like hearing the actual part with the state rest. That was the next big moment. Of course, Reddington did cross-examine. I don't think it was anything like super big to write home about. Let's get to where after he cross-examines, because this is the state's last witness that is currently on the stand, we can go into this portion.
Mass General Institute Health Professions transcript. Quinnipiac transcript.
Who was that?
Quinnipiac transcript. 74. And then employment records from Mass General Hospital. 75. We rest.
All right, and with that, the Commonwealth rests? All right. All right, so members of the jury, as you heard from Trudy speaking, the Commonwealth has rested. All right, so at this point, I've got to address some matters with the attorneys. So I'm going to, it's another one of those stops. We're going to take a stop at this.
So that's us kind of just hearing them rest their case on the record. And, you know, of course, after they rest their record, they send a jury out because, of course, the judge needs to address some things with Lindsay Clancy and Reddington. And that's when we get into the motion to dismiss.
May of 26 by the appeals court in Massachusetts. It was a case out of the Boston Municipal Court where I passed it up to the court. I don't know if you I passed it up to the court. I don't know if you have it in front of you. It's basically a Rule 25. Doesn't have any memoranda with it, but I would argue, and I would cite to the court the case that was decided of Commonwealth versus Brunette Silvera. It's BRUNETTE-SELVEIRA. It was decided towards the end of May of 26 by the appeals court in Massachusetts. It was a case out of the Boston Municipal Court where defendant was charged with assault and battery on a police officer. The evidence was presented that the defendant was acting erratically and that there was an awful lot of evidence that indicated that, brought out on cross-examination from witnesses, that the defendant was suffering from some type of a mental illness. Based on that evidence being presented, the government rested their case just as they've done here. My suggestion to the court is that the evidence that's been presented on this case against Ms. Clancy I would suggest does not rise to the level under Rule 25 of where even if you take the Lattimore standard and determine that the evidence would be decided in the light most favorable to the government at this stage of the case, I think the Brunette Silvera case places, as they describe it, a negative obligation to prove a negative as part of their case in chief on the government. I suggest to Your Honor that the evidence that has been presented in this case is overwhelming, that this young woman was clearly and unequivocally suffering from a mental disease or defect, that it was occupying her waking hours, her life, as she considered all of her avenues. She attempted to go to these healthcare providers, using the term loosely, that she went to these people. She had medication after medication after medication. She was obviously acting, I suggest to the court, in a state that was observed by witnesses that, in fact, that she was suffering from mental disease or defect, and then ultimately this horrific incident. So under that Brunette Silvera case, there's no evidence, I suggest, from the government that would rebut the fact that there is evidence of lack of criminal responsibility. So under Brunette Silvera and the cases that were cited in that opinion, respectfully, I would suggest that a required finding of not guilty should be entered on the case. I also would argue to the court that I think that under the Brunette Silvera standard and the evidence that Your Honor has before you, that the matter should be reduced down, if you will, from premeditated malice and forethought, cruelty and atrocity to second degree. I'm not arguing at this stage Commonwealth versus Gray or any of its progeny as to manslaughter, but I think the court, certainly in its wise exercise of discretion, has the ability and the right to reduce the charge to second-degree murder or enter a required finding.
All right, counsel, thank you. Come
Thank you, Your Honor. The case that defense counsel cited there.
So I just really wanted us to hear the argument that Reddington prepared in order to get the charges dismissed. I mean, we all know it was denied, right? Because then they started going with their first witnesses. And the first witness that they called is a colleague of hers that was in the labor and delivery. That was their first witness. So we all know that that was denied. So let me... yeah, we didn't came too far now for them to give her, let her go home. So let me move us to our next portion where she gets on the stand and she kind of talks about, I thought this was because the first couple witnesses that they're going to use is they almost like character witnesses, if that makes sense, at least to me. And this is Margaret Hemp. She's a colleague. She is the first defense witness. She is a former labor and delivery nurse who worked with Lindsay. And of course, she's going to be painting this picture of Lindsay being caring, a good mom. But the most important part that I got out of this is her wellness story, where she did a wellness check. So that's the part that I wanted to hear.
You've been working as a labor and delivery nurse?
I started on our labor and delivery unit in 2012.
Okay, so about 24 years? No.
I started for the obstetrics department in 2006.
Okay, so 20 years you've been working for Mass General between obstetrics and labor and delivery, right?
Correct.
Do you know Lindsay?
I do.
How do you know her?
I was working on the labor floor when Lindsay first started with us.
So this would be the labor and delivery floor, and she started as a nurse, correct?
Correct.
You had already been working there?
Correct.
And she was about, 24 years old?
Roughly.
And came in as a young woman as a nurse, correct?
Correct.
Can you tell us, to your let me ask you this, how many years did you work with her?
She started, I believe, in 2015, and I worked until 2002 when she went out with Kellen.
For about 7 years or thereabouts. Did you know that she had a child, Cora?
Yes.
And did you know that she had a child, Dawson?
Yes.
And ultimately that she had a child?
Really good at being a nurse. She was compassionate. She was kind. She was a patient advocate. She was the type of nurse that you wanted taking care of you or your loved one when you walked onto our unit.
Did you observe, for example, that on occasion when she would be involved with the delivery of a baby, that she would become emotional?
Lindsay was often emotional during birth of complete strangers. She would cry and she would just say that was so beautiful. You could just tell that she really loved being in that setting.
Over those years, right up until the time of Callan being born, fair to say that you stayed friendly with her?
Yes.
And you're still friendly with her?
Yes.
Can you tell us, did you observe during the time you worked with her how she emoted or felt about her children, all three of them?
Yes.
Tell us anything that you recall.
So Lindsay and I worked the night shift together, and often on the night shift you get to have an opportunity to really get to know your coworkers and celebrate things that are happening in their lives or support them with things that are not going so well. Lindsay asked a lot of questions of her coworkers about parenting. Simple things as she would poll the nursing staff about monogrammed lunch boxes, right down to sleeping habits. What questions do you ask a daycare provider to make sure that you're in the right place? She was often asking her coworkers childcare, parenting tips.
When she had Callan, after Callan was born in the late spring of 22, did you see her after the birth of Callan?
I did not see her after the birth of Callan.
Were you aware that she had taken a leave of absence from Mass General?
Yes.
Did you stay in touch with her by phone or text?
I briefly kept in touch through text. After Callan was born, I reached out to her and I asked her for her address and how she was doing so I could send her a gift. And then a few months later, she circled back to me to thank me for the gift that I had sent her.
Do you recall an incident on one occasion where she was looking or monitoring one of the children and the child was crying and you observed what happened after that?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Lindsay often checked in on her kids while they were sleeping at night. Again, we worked the night shift, and she had the ability to look at her phone and see what Cora or Callan were doing in their cribs, and she shared that with a lot of us. There was one particular night that Cora was crying. She was probably about 6 months old, and Lindsay never let Cora cry. She wasn't at that point in parenting, and she was very communicative about that. And Cora was crying on the monitor. It was the middle of the night, and maybe after 10 minutes, she started to call Pat, and he wasn't answering. And she got really worried that Cora was crying, but now Pat wasn't answering his phone. So in the middle of the night, she called the police to do a wellness check on her family.
Okay. And while you were working the night shift, is that pretty much what you both worked together all those years?
Yes.
Would that be through the pandemic as well?
Yes.
Would you say that that was quite a bonding experience, being in labor delivery up close and personal with patients during the pandemic at night?
Of course, it was a very challenging time as a healthcare provider.
So what I would like to say for this one, so of course is bringing in evidence from a coworker how Lindsay, when she was at work, she was still like kind of checking on the house, checking on the kids. And this time, nobody was answering the phone. I don't know what Patrick was that night, but maybe he sleep hard or something where he couldn't hear the phone. But she ended up calling the police and having them do a wellness check. Well, I don't know. That doesn't really sound like out the box to me. Like, if I'm at work and it's overnight and my husband is not answering the phone and I see the baby crying, I mean, my first thing, and I guess maybe when you're a nurse, you probably can't do that. I guess that's the thing. My first thing is that I'm either leaving or I'm going to have somebody else probably go check on them. I don't know if I'm calling the police unless like I'm out of town or something, but that seems weird to me, but I mean, I'll let it go. The next important testimony that I thought that came up was her sister's testimony. And she just basically kind of talks about how Lindsay, she watched her sister deteriorate. And if anybody, well, if you don't know, I'll let you know that what happened, when somebody is like, when you know somebody and you watch them deteriorating, like, it can be very traumatizing, and that's with any type of disease. I think like when you talk about somebody that may get on D-drugs, like hardcore street D-drugs, alcoholism, Like anybody that's suffering from like some type of depression or some type of disease or some type of mental illness, like just seeing them being that one person, perky person, it can be really, really, really troubling. But here is her sister Allison. We'll listen to a portion of her testimony where she talks about Lindsay's decline.
10 years now, but we do communicate, and I do think we're very close.
And do you text with her on a regular basis?
Yes,
And you talk on the phone, do you?
occasionally.
Directing your attention to the fall of, well, actually heading into like Thanksgiving and Christmas of 2022, do you remember that time frame?
Yes,
And did you have occasion to see your sister during that period of time?
yes.
And let's direct our attention to, let's say, Thanksgiving 2022. Had you noticed any change in Lindsay's personality or any observation of how she appeared to you?
I will say on Thanksgiving in particular is when the first time I saw her in person after quite some time. I had known she had not been doing well via text message communication that we had. I think on Thanksgiving, she, her mood did not look good, her energy, she didn't seem very energized. It definitely seemed off from how I've seen her in the past.
And were you aware that that carried through from November into December around the holiday season if you had stayed in touch with her?
Yes.
And can you tell us what you observed about her around the holiday season as it related to her, from your observations and your texting and your communications with Lindsay? How did she appear to you at that point?
The beginning of December, it seemed like she very much decompensated. I do remember her saying at one point at the beginning of December, something along the lines of, I'm in a really tough spot. And knowing what she had shared with me previously about how her mental health had been struggling, I had this gut feeling that something was off and that she was really struggling, and I asked her if she was safe.
What did she say?
She said yes at that point.
And you knew her husband, Pat?
Yes.
And you knew the kids?
Yes.
Obviously. Do you recall around Christmas itself, and perhaps a little bit thereafter, that you spoke with her and that she indicated, basically, I'm not doing okay?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury what you observed about her demeanor or her symptomology when you said she was decompensating around that time? What were they symptoms in your mind of?
Based on communication with Lindsay, and I started communicating with Pat directly at that time, she was reporting her mood was worsening, as she described as depression. She was having more suicidal thoughts. Insomnia continued to be an issue. She was really not feeling like herself.
And did you know that during that period of time where she was telling you about the suicidal thoughts and the issue of depression, that she was seeing doctors?
Yes.
And what did she tell you about seeing the doctors, and if she was on any medication, and if so, what effect did they have on her?
So the first thing she said about the doctors was back in October when she said that she saw a doctor for Zoloft and had a very awful reaction to that Zoloft.
Would that be Dr. Tufts?
I don't believe she shared that specific with me.
Share the name? Okay.
No. And then I think throughout our communication over the couple months of October to December, she did share with me that she was going to doctors, she was getting different prescriptions, kind of all the things that they were trying and different treatments they were looking at.
And do you recall when you were talking with her about her symptoms towards the end of December that she had, in your words, decompensated significantly and stated to you that she felt nothing and that she was scared, things of that nature?
Yes.
What else did she tell you, if you recall?
At the end of December, so I think it was more along the same of, that she is really not feeling well. Her mood is down. She's feeling numb. She's feeling hopeless. I believe at the very end of the month, she told me she had had suicidal ideation every day for a month.
Do you recall towards the end of the month around New Year's that she voluntarily admitted herself somewhere?
Yes.
Do you know where she admitted herself?
McLean Hospital.
And while she was at McLean Hospital, ultimately, do you know how she got out of McLean Hospital?
It was my understanding that she was weaning off of some medication that she was on, and then was eventually discharged 5 days later.
Now, did you see her or talk to her after she left McLean Hospital trying to wean herself off of whatever medication it was? Because you don't know what the medication was, right?
I believe it was Seroquel.
Seroquel.
Yep.
Did she tell you anything to the effect that when she got out of the hospital that she felt as though this was a step in the right direction? Did she seem as though she was trying to be positive about her life?
Yes.
And tell us about that, because up until this point you had observed her decompensating and having these symptoms and suicidal ideation and depression and feeling nothing and scary. When she got out of McLean, what did she appear to you and what did she say to you?
I believe she said she felt that was a good plan and that she was starting to feel better.
So was your sister, in your opinion, granted she's your sister and you're biased, obviously, but was she a complainer?
No.
And obviously, she didn't share with you in detail her doctors and medicines and things of that nature. Is that fair?
No.
But you were aware of the struggles and the hurt that she was going through.
Yes.
And then through the month of January, did you have occasion to see her, or were you, because you still live in different states?
Yes. Yes, I did have an occasion to see her in January.
When?
We went to Cora's birthday party.
And that was at the trampoline park?
Yes.
How did she appear at that?
I think she looked like she was going through the motions of putting together a birthday party for her daughter, but she looked tired. She looked like she was still struggling.
So there was a difference in your observation of what you had known your sister to have as a personality?
Yes.
And then, of course, the horrible day, were you aware, or did somebody call you and tell you that the children had been killed?
Yes.
One of them still survived and ultimately passed?
Yes.
And do you recall who told you that?
Yes.
Who was that?
My mother.
And as a result of getting the call from your mother, what did you do?
I jumped in the car, packed a bag, and I sped up to South Shore Hospital, which is where I was told she was.
Did you see her in South Shore?
So this is just establishing, I don't know, she said her sister had a whole month worth of suicidal, self-deletion ideation. I'm sorry, YouTube will get me. Dang, a whole month? Well, I don't know. After a month, I'm trying to figure out, what is the family doing? I don't know. I just have so many questions. And, I know everybody loves to play Monday morning quarterback, but I think that we have to be very, fair to the situation. But that's just my personal thing in regards to that, guys. Of course, the prosecutor, they are going to get up there and cross, and they're going to say, well, in January, these are the things that were getting better, and this is how things were going. I think that, at least because this is my first time, actually listening to this stuff with you guys, I just know when I was, I just kind of figured the people that were, testifying and try to pull some clips for us. But I am going to go ahead and move to her mom's testimony, because her mom testifies next, Paula. They were all up there kind of pretty short, hit, in and out witnesses for the defense for the most part, from everything that I can tell. But I just want to kind of get to the meat and the potatoes of people's testimony. And I thought it was very important, the mom, when she got up on the stand, and she kind of explained this incident that happened in the kitchen. So I'm gonna pull us to that portion so we can hear her mom, Paula Musgrove, describe that interaction.
What it was doing to her mind?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said,
I know that.
I believe at that point I stayed for about a week.
And was your husband with you?
He came later. He didn't come directly with me then because he was still working, so he came later.
I never asked. What did you do for work?
I worked for Weight Watchers.
And you're retired?
Yes.
How about your husband? Is he working now?
He recently retired.
And what was the nature of his work?
He was in photography.
What kind of photography?
School picture photography.
For yearbooks and things like that?
Yeah, and school pictures, and you had your kids' pictures taken.
And he just recently retired?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that during the month of October into November, into the holidays in December, that you and your husband would stay with Lindsay and the kids?
Yes. I stayed more than my husband because he needed to go back home to work.
Sure. While you were staying with Lindsay, can you tell us your opinion as to her condition? Was it decompensating? Was she getting better as time went on through November and December into the holidays?
Through November into December, it was not getting better, into the holidays.
And you knew she was on medication at that point?
Yes.
You knew she was seeing doctors at that point?
Yes.
So tell us, is there an incident that came to your mind that you recall that occurred on one evening that indicated to you how seriously she was suffering?
There were many. One particular evening that was disturbing to me was that, she was afraid. She was afraid to be alone, and she actually asked if she could sleep with me.
When was that?
That was late November, early December.
And did she indeed sleep with you on that occasion?
She did.
Continuing on through the holidays, did you guys get together for the holidays, Christmas or Thanksgiving, if you recall?
Yes, I was down there probably most of December through Christmas Eve, and then I left on Christmas Eve to come home to see my other daughter and her family, and then Lindsay actually came to my house later the day on Christmas Day.
Was she with Pat?
Yes.
Okay, and the kids?
Yes.
During that period of time, did you make further observation as time went into January? Oh, back it up. At some point, she voluntarily went into McLean Hospital?
Yes.
You knew that?
Yes.
How did you know that?
I was there.
What do you mean you were there?
I was at Lindsay's house staying with them.
You take care of the kids?
Yes.
And it's fair to say that Pat's parents, mom and dad, also stepped up, taking care of the kids, helping out during this period of time?
They were there, I guess, when we weren't there. I didn't really see them, but...
Right, because you guys would be different time frames.
Right.
But you all were pulling together as a family, is that
Right.
correct? January, leading up to January 24th, do you recall, and can you tell the jurors, what, if any, observations you made of Lindsay and her condition?
Lindsay had lost a lot of weight. She had become, during this whole time, paranoid about different things that really she shouldn't have, really weren't logical to become paranoid about. She would mention that this wasn't her mind. And she would say to me, this isn't me. I've never been like this before. And I would agree because she wasn't. She was attempting to go through the motions of her day, take care of the kids as best she could. She didn't want to drive. So at times when Pat didn't go pick the kids up at school, I would drive Lindsay to pick the kids up at school because she was afraid to drive.
Did she express to you concern that in this time frame that people at the school, teachers and other people would be able to know what she was thinking and would think that she wasn't a good mother because she was sick?
Yes. She said, the school knows something's going on because I'm not driving my car. They see that I'm not driving my car to pick the kids up.
Do you recall the end of January that she made a statement to you about the medication and her opinion, what it was doing to her mind?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said that she couldn't remember anything. The medication was pretty much just destroying her mind, and it wasn't her. She said, this isn't me. I just want to feel better and enjoy my kids again.
Now, I know that this is difficult. In December of 2022, do you recall the time that you were in the kitchen with Lindsay and Patrick and she made a statement about her state of mind to her husband, Pat, and you were there?
Yes.
I know it's difficult. Just tell us what you remember.
I remember her being very nervous. I remember her saying, I just have to tell you guys something. And then she told us.
What did she tell you?
She told us that she had thoughts of harming the children.
Thank you very much. Why don't we take...
So y'all know that's exactly why they wanted her in, to come in and testify in regards to the main portion of saying, hey, I have had thoughts of unaliving my children, but I don't know if he really pulled out a date in that regards. So, and this is her disclosure. Lindsay says that she has thoughts of harming the children. Her mother and Patrick were at the kitchen table. So this is what they talk about when they talk about the kitchen. This is a moment that the defense wanted the jury to sit with, and the judge, I guess he played right into it too, because he was like, let's take a break now. So everybody working into it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding before anybody jumped down my throat. But okay. And so then the judge gives them a break. I just don't know. Everything after this is about whether the mental state was still present on January 24th, because I'm almost sure that this incident at the table happened sometime in December, guys. Okay? So, and then I don't think the Commonwealth has clearly, given us what she had in her system, when she had it in her system. She was being weaned off medications. It appears that she was being weaned off medications. Now, I don't know because Lindsay was combining stuff. She was coming back into the doctor saying, hey, I took this, and this. This didn't work, but this did work. I'm going to try this, and this with NyQuil and just other stuff. So it seemed like a lot of her stuff she was doing too. The next person that came up was Dr. Michael Voltovich. He is an ER doctor, and he's going to talk about her injury. So let's get that testimony in for us to hear.
And I
Exhibit.
H.
And what do you do for work, sir?
I'm an emergency medicine doctor. I work full-time at Newton Wellesley Hospital.
Newton Wellesley?
Yes.
And can you tell us, are you board certified, sir?
I am. I'm board certified in emergency medicine.
And that would be by the American Board of Emergency Medicine?
Correct.
And how long have you been practicing emergency medicine?
I did 3 years of residency, and this is my 13th year as a full-time attending.
And you're presently, was she also, what would be, I guess, referred to as hypothermic?
Oh, shoot. Sorry, y'all.
Response of somebody is, whether their eyes are opening spontaneously.
Particular case involving Lindsay Clancy.
You did. You asked me to review the...
What you reviewed.
Oh, sorry. You asked me to review the photos from the crime scene, and then the emergency medical records from South Shore Hospital, Brigham and Women's Hospital, and then the records from her hospital stay at Brigham and Women's Hospital.
So in reviewing all of those various hospital records, sir, you're aware that on January 24th of 2023, she initially was transported to South Shore Hospital. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And can you tell the jurors what's treatment she received at the South Shore Hospital, briefly?
So she arrived with a GCS of 10, meaning she was not really very responsive.
Let me interrupt you just because what did you say, a G6?
GCS, Glasgow Coma Scale.
Okay, slow down, because I don't understand. What is a GCS?
It's a Glasgow Coma Scale. It's a series of things that we look at to determine how responsive somebody is, whether their eyes are opening spontaneously, whether they're able to speak on their own, and whether you're able to understand what they're saying, and then how much, if at all, they're moving, whether they're moving spontaneously, whether they can follow commands, that kind of thing.
Okay, so the Glasgow Coma Scale, GCS of 10, what does that tell you as an emergency room doctor?
Tells us that she was not very responsive on arrival. It sounds like she was not speaking intelligibly, and the doctors at South Shore Hospital were concerned about her ability to maintain her own airway and made the decision to intubate her, which means putting a breathing tube down her throat into her lungs and placing her on a ventilator and sedating her.
Was she also, what would be, I guess, referred to as hypothermic?
She was.
What does that mean?
Means that her body temperature was below what's considered normal. So in her case, her core body temperature was, I believe, 82.1 degrees, which would put her into severe hypothermia.
And did you note that she was tachycardic and hypotensive?
Yes.
What did that mean?
So it means that her heart rate was above 100, and hypotensive means that her blood pressure was below what is considered normal.
And South Shore Hospital, were they able to stabilize her?
It sounds like they were able to stabilize her by placing a breathing tube in her neck, in her throat to help with her breathing. And then they basically proceeded to obtain a bunch of imaging, started her on medications to sedate her and artificially raise her blood pressure. They started working on rewarming her. And then in conjunction with the trauma team there, they made the decision that she would be better served at a hospital with a higher level of care.
Okay. And can you tell us what the injuries were that she presented herself with to the South Shore Hospital?
So there were multiple injuries. She had lacerations to bilateral wrists.
When you say lateral, what does that mean?
Bilateral, both sides. So she had a laceration both to her left wrist and to her right wrist, and then multiple superficial lacerations as well. And then she also had multiple superficial lacerations to both sides of her neck, the front of her neck, and 2 deeper lacerations to the sides of her neck. So
when you say superficial lacerations and then deeper lacerations, do you recall, what's the standard? What do you look for in something like that?
So it's tough. Everybody will describe them a little bit differently. In her case, I would describe multiple superficial lacerations, which would typically mean kind of scrapes on the surface of the skin, nothing that actually gets through the full thickness of the skin. And then she also had full thickness lacerations, meaning that she made it all the way through the skin into the subcutaneous tissue, the fatty tissue. And then you would need to describe it further if any additional structures were injured, which in her case they were not.
Now, in your experience for a number of years in the emergency room, have you had occasion to treat people that have tried to commit suicide or have successfully committed suicide by cutting their throat?
Multiple times.
Multiple times. And can you tell us, in your opinion, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, sir, as to whether or not this injury or these injuries that you observed were consistent with what you've seen in other suicide attempts?
Sustained.
Well, can you tell us, did that look like an effort to pretend or fake a suicide?
Sustained.
Well, when you looked at the injuries, did you make a determination that they appeared to have some impact on the human body of Ms. Clancy?
Yes.
What was that?
They were consistent with self-injurious behavior. The intent, I can't gauge, but
Anything further?
Okay. Yep, thank you. How about the wrist? What did you observe about the wrist injuries, sir?
so she had 2 full-thickness lacerations, one on the left, one on the right.
What does that mean?
Means that she made it all the way through the epidermis and the dermis, which is what makes up the skin in the wrist, and into the fatty tissue, which is the next layer.
Okay. Are you familiar in your experience, sir, with hesitation wounds in a suicide attempt?
Yes, to some extent.
What does that mean?
Means typically that they're more kind of subtle, weaker attempts to hurt yourself, not necessarily anything that's going to be deep to the structures of the skin, but more just scrapes along the surface.
Okay, and you noticed some of those on the neck area as well, is that correct?
There were multiple of those on both the neck and the wrists.
As it relates to the injuries to the wrists, did you observe any vascular obstructions or penetration of the cervical, the fascia?
There was not.
Okay. What other injuries did you recall from reviewing the medical records?
So she also had multiple fractures in her cervical spine, which are the vertebrae that make up her neck, including what's called a burst fracture of C1, and then other fractures of C4. She also had fractures of multiple levels of the thoracic spine. I believe she had multiple transverse process fractures on both the right and left.
What does that mean, transverse fractures?
Transverse processes are lateral projections, basically projections that go sideways off of the bone that allow the ribs to articulate, connect with the spine, and they also allow muscles to connect, and they help support the basically overall ring structure of the spinal canal.
And was she then transported by med flight or life flight to a Boston hospital?
She was.
What does that tell you as an emergency surgeon when someone's transported by med flight or life flight?
Typically means that her injuries are felt to be severe enough that she needs immediate intervention and further treatment, that the hospital that is basically necessitating the transport is saying that they cannot provide at their facility.
She was then transported to what hospital?
Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston.
She was admitted to what unit?
Surgical ICU.
And you had a chance to review all those medical records as well?
I did.
Did she suffer a particular event that night that you recall from looking at the records?
She did shortly after arriving in the surgical ICU. It sounds like they were moving her, and when they moved her, they noticed that her blood pressure dropped, her pulse became faint, and subsequently she actually suffered a complete cardiac arrest and required 2 rounds of cardiopulmonary resuscitation with compressions and medications before she was able to be revived.
And she also, to your knowledge, had suffered significant hemorrhage and had to have a fairly massive blood transfusion?
Yes, they placed chest tubes, which are basically plastic tubes that go into the chest cavity on both sides, and had about 300 cc's of blood come out from each side. And there was also noted to be significant hemorrhage around the spine and into the mediastinum, which is the portion of the chest that houses a lot of the organs like your esophagus, your trachea, blood vessels, that kind of thing.
Now, if there's a fracture or a serious fracture to, I believe it's C1, does that interfere possibly with a person's ability to breathe?
It does.
And how does that work?
So if you have a fracture that affects the spinal cord above a certain level, typically above the 3rd cervical vertebrae, it basically removes your ability to initiate breathing on your own. Your 3rd, 4th, and 5th cervical vertebrae, the nerves that lead from there, are the ones that are responsible for telling your diaphragm to go up and down and help you breathe. And so if you lose the ability to send that signal down to your diaphragm, you lose the ability to breathe.
Now, as it relates to your review of the medical records and review of the history, are you aware of the mechanism of the injuries that she suffered that you just described for the jury?
I am.
Tell us what that was, to your knowledge.
That she went out of her 2nd-story window.
And going out of the window, obviously, did she strike the ground? Or
She did.
And that caused the injuries, the mechanism of injury?
Yes, it's consistent with all of her injuries.
Now, with your experience, sir, with, as you indicated, dealing with people in the emergency room and treating people that have been involved with sequential acts of self-harm, do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty as an emergency board certified physician as to the effect of the combination of the multiple sequential injuries that you saw?
Objection.
Can I see counsel at sidebar? Just
I can withdraw it, Judge. I'll withdraw it. Just thank you very much.
No questions.
all right. Thank you, Doc.
Wow, so they didn't even cross-examine him. Yeah, I see what Reddit was trying to do to get that doctor to say that, yeah, these are consistent with self-harm and things, but yeah, he can't say what her intent was. Like, that's like going into somebody's mental space and mental mind. So he was the last witness of the day on day 14, guys, just so you know. And those were the most important parts of the testimony that I saw. You tell me. I don't know if you guys have seen it or if anything. Yeah, Eva. All her physicians, they did. The people that treated her, they all the way to when she got into the emergency room and things like that. They all did testify, in the state's case. What I would like to say is that I noticed that he did try to get in regards. Well, he did get it in regards to, hey, when people are life flighted, that means that they need immediate attention that the one hospital is unable to do. He got that in because I do recall on in the state's case, they were like, look, the doctor got on there and she was like, look, sometimes that's just the fastest part of the transportation. It does not mean that, but that doctor right there, the emergency room doctor, he kind of like, he basically for us, he kind of disagrees. I guess not disagrees, but he has another version or another opinion in regards to why people are life flighted. But that one doctor, she was like, no, they can be life flighted at any point in time. And the reason why they're life flighted, maybe it's the best form of transportation. Right, guys? The best form of transportation. So let's get to day 15, which is yesterday. I only have about maybe like, for me, I think like 4 moments. Patrick's mom testified yesterday, which was a big thing. So let's look at Patrick's mom take the stand. And she's going to talk about some stuff. And I think this is where everybody, like the internet, was going crazy in regards to her being asked about this mortal sin question. Like, how dare you? How dare you bring that up? Hey, King Chris, how are you? King Chris said he think the husband that threw her out the window. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Nah, she would, nah, because then she wouldn't have said that the kids were in the basement. She wouldn't have, I think she would remember that. Okay, let's listen to some of Mom's testimony.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm just going to ask you to speak into that microphone, keep your voice up if you could. All right. Counsel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Judge. Keep your voice up so Officer Kurtz can hear you as well. Thank you. And just tell us your name and spell it, please.
Susan Clancy, SUSANCLANCY.
And what time do you live in?
Situate.
And you're married to Chris Clancy?
Yes.
And both you and Chris are mother and father of Pat Clancy?
Correct.
And you are Lindsay. You live in Lindsay.
Yes.
Tell us what your relationship was with Lindsay, how you knew her, and just background.
Yeah, Lindsay married my son Patrick, and we had a very good relationship.
And did you have occasion to go to their home
Yes.
in Weymouth?
Yes, I did.
And then in Duxbury as well?
Correct.
And obviously, you and your husband were the grandparents of the 3 little kids?
Yes.
And how was your relationship with the babies?
Beautiful.
And tell us how frequently, to your memory, you were able to visit with your son, Lindsay, and of course your grandchildren.
At least a couple times a month we would see them.
At some point, by the way, what do you do for work?
Iron.
I'm sorry, an RN?
An iron.
And what type of,
I worked in the labor and delivery room for about 38 years.
38 years in labor and delivery?
Correct.
Helping women that were having babies. And
Correct.
obviously you kept up with the studies and continuing education and things?
Yes, I did.
To that extent, in your capacity as an RN with 38, well back then it would have been 35 years of experience, I think.
Yes.
Fair to say that you, as I said, you would keep up with all of recent developments in postpartum psychosis, postpartum depression, all of that.
Somewhat, but I mainly just was in the delivery room
So
itself.
were you aware of the various physicians that were in the forefront if you will, of postpartum studies as it relates to medicine.
Yes.
Would one of the people that you were interested in be a person by the name of Dr. Meg Spinelli?
Yes.
And can you tell us who Meg Spinelli is?
I don't really know Meg Spinelli well. We've spoken a couple of times. I believe she specializes in postpartum mental health.
And have you met with her before?
Not in person.
Okay. Did you at some point ask Dr. Spinelli to help out at your hospital, and I guess they call it a rounds lecture?
I asked her to bring on her experience and education in that area and share it with my colleagues.
Did she do that?
She did.
And as time went by, dealing with your job, your family, your son, daughter-in-law, grandchildren, did you notice in 2022, after Callan was born, any change in the personality, if you will, of Lindsay?
Several months after that, I did.
Would that be sometime in the fall?
Yes.
And can you tell the jurors, being as close as you were with the family, well, let me back up. As a mother-in-law, did you have any observation to observe Lindsay with her kids?
Yes.
Can you tell the jurors about how you saw her acting with her children as a mother?
She was very nurturing, very loving. She was a wonderful mother. Wonderful.
Did you ever see her treat her middle son, Dawson, bad because you didn't like him?
No.
Did she love Dawson, in your opinion?
She loved her children, all of them, very, very much.
And during that period of time, let's say October, November of 2022, what did you observe about Lindsay?
She reached out to me in November and told me that she felt unwell.
Did she describe any symptoms for you?
She did.
Tell the jurors what she said.
She felt, mostly she had insomnia. She was losing her appetite. She was very anxious and sad.
Did she tell you that she was seeing doctors?
Yes.
And at some point, did you recommend, did she come to you and ask you for help regarding seeing a doctor?
Yes, she asked for my support.
And did you obviously gave it to her?
Yes.
And what did you do to make any recommendations for her?
I reached out to my colleagues who were running a clinic for women that were struggling postpartum.
Would that be the South Shore?
Yes, correct.
And at some point, as a result of your intervention, was a nurse practitioner, Julie Hall, agreeing to step in and help out?
Yes,
Did Lindsay see Julie?
I believe she did.
And you really pretty much were out of the mix at that point. You basically made the connection, knew that she was on there, right?
Correct.
Did you find that Lindsay was interested at all times in trying to get better and see doctors?
Very much so.
Did you find at all, do you have an opinion with your observations of Lindsay as to whether or not she was offered help and would just spurn it and not see doctors and not have
She was
treatment?
begging for help.
And during that period of time, you were there for her by text and by telephone and in person?
Correct.
Now, during that time that you were, let's say November and into December, the holiday season, do you recall the holidays for 2022?
Yes.
Can you tell us, was that a fun time for the Clancys?
Lindsay was struggling. We were all very concerned.
You knew in January, New Year's, actually, that she ended up going
Yes.
to the McLean Hospital?
Yes.
You know that she eventually got out of the McLean Hospital?
Yes.
Fair to say that you and Lindsay, as I said, communicated a lot by text messaging, right?
Yes, correct.
So I'm going to approach you with extraction report. This is a report that is done by the DA's Office of the State Police, Mrs. Whiffen, on what's called Celebrate, where they can go into, they examine your phone?
No.
They examine Lindsay's phone and obtain texts. Have you seen the texts?
I think so.
Okay. I'm going to approach you with the extraction report. Okay? And you can just take a look and see if your telephone number is on there, just for foundation purposes. Or if it is, okay. And just quickly flip through and see if you recognize those texts. You don't have to look at all of them, that's for sure. They appear to be texts between you and Lindsay? Mm-hmm. Okay. Your Honor, I'm not going to go through each and every text. What I'm going to suggest is I would offer this, and then the jurors would be able to look at what they wish.
Any objection?
Your Honor, Kamal just makes the same objection previously made.
All right. Over the Kamal's objection, that may be admitted.
Thank you very much.
Como?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So you indicated that you were a labor and delivery nurse for 38 years. And what hospital was that?
Social hospital.
And early on in the defendant's career, you did you work with her?
Briefly.
Okay. And she then went to Mass General, correct?
Yeah, she was a student at the time.
Okay. And you stated that you are aware of a doctor named Meg Spinelli, correct?
Yes.
Did you reach out to her in this case?
I don't remember exactly how she and I connected. I don't recall.
Well, you indicated that you connected with her in a professional capacity to have her come to your hospital, right?
Yes.
But as far as her role in this case with the defendant, did you reach out to her for that?
I don't think I did. I don't recall.
Now, you said that you began to notice some issues in, defense counsel said October, November, but fair to say you weren't aware of what was going on until she texted you on November 16th when she was at the emergency room?
Yes.
And that was at South Shore Hospital?
Yes.
And you actually met her there at the emergency room?
Yes.
Was she by herself or with Patrick?
She was by herself.
Did you know how she got there?
She drove.
She drove herself to the hospital?
Correct.
And she was in the emergency room for a while, correct?
I don't know how long. Probably an hour, maybe 2 hours.
Well, you went down when you knew she was there, sat with her for a little bit, went back upstairs to because you were working that day, right?
Correct. I wasn't able to go down immediately. I had to wait about an hour and a half, and then I went down.
Okay. And then you sat with her for a little bit, you went back up to work, right?
Yes.
And then you came back down at some point before she was discharged.
Yes.
Counsel, can I see it sidebar just very briefly?
Of course, he got all these sidebars.
Sometimes a reaction to THC or CBD or some sort of weed that somebody might have a faster heartbeat.
I don't know.
Now, when she was in the emergency room, she was seen by a doctor and provided some medication. Were you there when the doctor was there?
Yes.
And you're aware that the ER doctor, gave her some trazodone to help her sleep?
Yes.
Because that's what she was really concerned about, right? The sleep.
Yes.
And when she left the emergency room, did you call her an Uber or have Pat come and get her or call your husband to come get her?
No.
She left in her own car, right?
Correct.
And so fair to say, after that ER visit, you remained in pretty constant contact with her, at least via text message,
yes.
right? And that you would check in with her pretty much daily, and that's all in these texts?
Yes.
Now, you were familiar with the perinatal behavioral health clinic because of your work at Social Hospital,
yes.
correct?
Correct.
And so the person actually that you connected with first was not Julie Paul, was it?
No, it was one of the midwives that I was working with.
And her name's Nanette?
I think so.
And so did she provide you with Julie Paul's contact information?
She suggested Julie.
Okay. And as a result of the suggestion, you reached out to Julie with Lindsay's permission, right?
Yes.
And you said that at that point you made the contact, knew she had spoken to Julie, and you kind of stepped back from the clinic.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're aware Julie Paul is one of the only prescribers that the defendant encountered that's not personally named in a civil lawsuit that's pending, don't you?
I'm not sure.
Now, so the ER visit's on the 16th. Contact is made with Julie Paul on November 20th, right?
That sounds right.
Okay. And that would have been your phone call to her first.
I don't remember exactly.
In that time period, well, you knew she was going and going to see providers and meeting with Julie and going to the clinic. Did you offer to help out more with the kids?
Yes.
You were still working full-time at that time, weren't you?
Yes.
So fair to say it was kind of limited based on your schedule?
Correct.
Did you have a normal schedule that you worked at that time period?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, as a nurse, did you work day shifts? Did you work mids?
I worked the day shift.
Okay. So did you offer to watch the kids at nighttime?
I don't remember exactly.
Did the kids come to stay at your house overnight so that she could get some sleep?
No, they didn't.
Fair to say you offered and she didn't want the kids to come to your house, right?
No, that's not right.
Well, were they, did they ever sleep over your house?
No, they didn't.
And Cora was 5, right?
Yes, correct. She turned 5 that December.
So at any point, they never stayed over?
We decided together it was best for them to be in their own beds at their own house with all the belongings. And Lindsay's parents were very actively involved in staying over and helping out. So it was the best decision that they stay home in their own beds.
So prior to the November of 2022, did you and your husband ever come and stay over the night so that Patrick and Lindsay could go off?
We never did stay at their house.
And as far as kind of watching the kids or taking the kids outside of the house during the daytime, did you often take Cora on kind of day trips out to lunch?
Yeah, we used to go to lunch together.
How about Dawson? Did you take him one-on-one out to?
Not as much. He was younger.
And how about Callan? Did you ever take him out of the house without Lindsay?
No.
And are you aware that Lindsay told one of the therapists that she wasn't close with you as in-laws? And that
I didn't know that, no.
That she said she doesn't generally allow the in-laws to watch her children?
I did watch the kids.
Okay, but are you aware that she told the therapist that?
No.
Are you aware she told the therapist that she didn't have any particular reason why and that they don't bug me about it either?
I didn't know any of that.
Now, Lindsay, the defendant, she communicated with you via text about her issues with sleep and the medication she was taking, right?
Yes.
And as far as the ER visit where the trazodone was prescribed, do you recall having a back and forth conversation with her about that it's okay to increase it if you weren't getting any relief?
The doctor told her that, so I repeated that.
Okay. And so you're aware that she was, in fact, increasing the dose?
I did not know that.
Now, once she was seeing Julie Paul, did you continue to have conversations with her about how she was feeling?
Yes.
And you knew that she was taking some new medications after she saw Julie, right?
Yes.
And sorry, these pages are different than mine. At some point, after being prescribed some medication, you recall that Lindsay told you that she thought she developed a benzo dependency, correct?
I vaguely remember that.
That would be on November 29th, where she says, I just deep down inside of me feel that I've developed a benzo dependence after just 2 weeks of using it, and I feel like no one is hearing that and addressing it, and we keep throwing different meds in the mix that aren't really addressing the real issue. Do you recall that message?
It sounds familiar.
And she asks you, or you respond, so hard, I don't know what to do, so should you not use it? And she responds, I guess not, but then I don't sleep, right? Do you recall that?
I can't say for certain. It sounds right.
Okay.
I don't remember a lot of specifics.
And on November 30th, she says, and I'm just gonna try to show on the screen here. She says, I'm not okay and I'm terrified of taking meds tonight. Do you see that in the green?
Yes.
And then your response is, why are you scared? Why happens if you don't take them? What are you afraid of? What about Ambien, right? You're actively trying to help her kind of figure out the medication.
Yes, there were a lot of medications.
Okay. You're aware she wasn't prescribed all the medications at one time, but just a lot of different combinations were kind of thrown around as options, right?
It seemed confusing.
that she's very clear, and she tells you which medications she's taking, right? Ativan and Remeron.
Probably.
Okay. And then she also tells you on November 30th when you're talking about it, she says, I know they take time to reach a therapeutic level to have the desired effect, right? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And then you respond, exactly. And she tells you that she's just depressed and she thinks it was brought on by the medication, right?
I don't remember that.
Okay. Well, on November 30th at 7:52, I was never ever this depressed. It was brought on by the medication. Did you say that or did she say that?
She probably said that.
Now, you were asked about the holidays and Thanksgiving. You remember Thanksgiving? Where did you guys go for Thanksgiving?
To my daughter's house.
And do you remember telling the grand jury that during Thanksgiving things were better?
I don't recall.
Well, do you remember her saying that she said things were better? Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
Okay. You were asked, what was Lindsay like during the big Thanksgiving gathering? What observations did you make? Answer, she smiled. The girls all had Thanksgiving t-shirts on that sort of matched. We took a picture. She mostly focused on the kids and interacting with the cousins and the aunts and uncles. At one point, she went off a little into the distance, and I approached and asked her how she was doing, and she said, I'm trying hard to get better. I'm still working at it. I asked about her sleep. I thought that was important, and also the fact that she lost some weight. She didn't have an appetite, and she said things were getting better.
Okay.
Now, during the holidays, you, in fact, took some time off of work so that you were around a little bit more, correct?
Correct.
And so when you were around a little bit more, did you spend all day, every day at their house?
No.
Fair to say you would come sometimes play with the kids, right?
Yes.
Do shopping for her.
Correct.
And then you actually went on vacation.
Yes.
You and your husband went to Aruba.
Yes.
How long were you in Aruba?
5 or 6 days, I think.
And now moving towards Christmas, you had dinner with them at their house on the 23rd, right?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember breakfast on Christmas Day?
Yes.
Was that at their house or someplace else?
Their house.
Okay. And then what did you guys do after breakfast?
We went to church.
And fair to say you've previously testified that breakfast was great.
Yes.
And that church was beautiful.
Yes.
And in fact, the defendant, she told you that it was great and that she was glad she went to church that day on Christmas Day.
Yes, she did.
And then after that, you're aware they went down to Connecticut to see her family.
Right.
Now, are you an active member in the Catholic Church?
Yes.
So you're aware that murder is considered a mortal sin?
Counsel, could I see you over here? All right, counsel.
So you were aware, Mrs. Clancy, about the stay at McLean Hospital from January 1st to January 5th, correct?
Yes.
And did you come to the house to help with the kids during that time period?
Yes.
And fair to say, when she came home on the 5th, there was a party for Cora on the 7th.
Yes.
Did you go to the birthday party?
No.
Were you at the house much between January 7th and January 24th?
I don't remember.
Do you recall previously reporting that you hadn't been at the house?
I don't remember.
And during that time period, you never took the kids on a day trip or for a visit?
I don't recall.
And were you aware that between January 7th and January 24th that Pat and Lindsay went to the Cape Codder with the kids?
I'm aware of that.
And that they went to the Museum of Science with the kids?
Yes.
And that Pat left Dawson and Callan home, or excuse me, left, Dawson and Callan home to go take Cora skiing. Were you aware of that?
It sounds accurate to me.
On the ski trip, did they ask you to come over and stay with Lindsay while she was with the other kids?
I don't remember.
And you were asked on direct examination about Lindsay going to see providers, and you said, I think she was begging for help, right?
She was.
Did you attend any of those meetings with her therapists or doctors?
No.
So you don't know what she told the providers, right?
I don't know.
And you don't know what kind of help she asked for other than medication, do you?
No.
And do you know whether there was any other options offered to her other than McLean, like a partial hospitalization program or intensive outpatient? Were you aware of those options?
Yeah.
And do you know if she went?
She went to Women and Infants.
So that's the one day where Pat dropped her off and went skiing and then came back, right?
I believe so.
Anything further?
All right, Ms. Bennington, redirect?
So she asked you about options that were available to Lindsay, correct?
Yes.
So, we didn't, let me see. So then we got redirect, okay. Let me get back up to the redirect.
So you're aware she was turned away because she told you she was turned away, right?
I don't remember the details of that visit or that day.
You didn't review the records, did you?
No.
So you're not aware that they actually deferred to Pat and Lindsay reporting over medication?
I remember something being said that she wasn't a candidate for that program. That's what I recall being told by Patrick and Lindsay.
Okay. And that's because everything she described was reported connected to medication and occurred well after what's considered the postpartum period, right?
I don't know.
Well, you're a labor and delivery nurse. You know the postpartum period could be up to a year, right?
I've heard it could be longer.
But generally, it's within the first 12 weeks that you start to see some symptoms.
I don't know.
But you're aware that she was sent from Women and Infants with actually several options, where it included inpatient treatment for medication management, a partial hospitalization program focused on general mental health, or continued outpatient management. That's what she was sent away with.
Okay.
Nothing further.
May I? One more?
Go ahead, one.
So outpatient management, that would include somebody like Gelada, right?
Yes.
You know that Women and Infants called Gelada and she never called them back?
I didn't know that.
Come up, anything on that?
No.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Let me sit down. Thank you.
Okay, so there we have it. Lindsay Clancy's, Lindsay Clancy's ex-mother-in-law, but Patrick Clancy's mom. Let me get to the next testimony that I thought that was very worthwhile listening to. For us, just for our catch up for, day 14 and 15. I'll do a recap of day 16. That'll catch us up, something similar to what we're doing now. I'll do that later today. I think I'm gonna schedule live for 7 or 8, but let's see. Okay, yeah, the doctor.
ONDIE.
And tell us, what do you do for work, sir?
I'm a child, adolescent, and adult clinical and forensic psychiatrist.
And can you tell us your background as to where you went to school and when you got your medical degree and things of that nature?
I graduated from Tulane University, then spent some time in graduate school at the University of New Orleans, then went to medical school at Louisiana State University in New Orleans. And then I came to Boston to the Massachusetts Mental Health Center to train in psychiatry.
And where is that?
The Massachusetts Mental Health Center was at 74 Fenwood Road. That building has been demolished, and now they're at 75 Fenwood Road in Boston.
I was referring to more like, is that affiliated with any particular medical schools?
Yes.
What is it?
Harvard.
And what years were you working at the Mass Mental Health Center affiliated with Harvard?
I started there after medical school. I graduated in 1982 from medical school, was an intern in 1982 to 83, and that was a Harvard-affiliated internship, and then residency was 83 to 85 for adult training, 2 years, then 85 to 87, which is 2 years of training for child and adolescent. Then I did a forensic fellowship, also at the Mass Mental Health Center. And during that year, I spent some time at Harvard Law School as a visiting fellow.
And do you have, or did you have any
So I'm gonna skip ahead until he's talking about the effects of the Zoloft and how it should have been treated for her. So let's get to that portion of it because that's the meat and potatoes of what he's here for.
I believe the first medication she started was Zoloft, 25 milligrams.
And what is that? Tell us what Zoloft is. What effect does it have on a person?
I'm sorry?
What effect does that have on a person?
Well, Zoloft is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, which is a type of antidepressant that started being used around 1988, I believe. Prozac was the first one, Zoloft was the second. When it works to be helpful, it combats both anxiety and depressive symptoms that people might have. It also has, in some people, an effect of causing a feeling of jitteriness and increasing anxiety. So it's something that does have some potential side effects as well as beneficial effects.
And when she was prescribed the original 25 milligrams of Zoloft, did she in fact take that, or did she defer on taking that?
My recollection of the records is that she had it prescribed, picked it up, but did not take it for at least a couple of weeks because she did not wish to take medication. She was, I believe, still breastfeeding at that time. There are medications, and Zoloft would be one that would likely appear to some extent in the breast milk.
Okay, so because she was worried about that, she held off on that, but ultimately did take the prescription from Dr. Tufts, is that right?
The records indicate that she did eventually start taking the 25 milligrams.
Sorry. Does it indicate when she started taking them after that little hiatus?
To be exact, I'd have to look at the records, but I believe it was at the end of September.
And was that dosage increased at some point?
It increased from 25 milligrams to 50 milligrams.
And what happened when Lindsay took the 50 milligrams of Zoloft prescribed by Dr. Tufts?
The records indicate that she had a rather rapid series of difficulties, that she had insomnia for, I believe the records say 48 hours, couldn't sleep. It's something that would be called activation that these medications can cause in some people who are more susceptible.
Now, by mid-October, after she began taking the Zoloft, would you agree that the records indicate a week after starting the medication and increasing the dose, she reported in October to Dr. Tufts what you're relating is that she felt, how did she describe it to Dr. Tufts? If you, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Well, she felt that she talked about being numb, she talked about not being herself, she talked about feeling worse, not better. Antidepressants usually take at least 2 to 3 and frequently 4 to 6 weeks to have useful effects, but sometimes side effects can happen very quickly.
Did she also indicate, looking at your affidavit, that she was crying all day, she was experiencing mental fog, terrified to start something new, anxiety had gotten much worse? Did she tell that to Dr. Tufts at that time at the end of October?
Yes, I do recall those things being in the record.
All right, and following through again on your affidavit, was there further explanation from Lindsay's recitation of symptomology to Dr. Tufts? Did she further state about racing thoughts, paranoia? What did she say? Look at your report, look at your affidavit if that helps you refresh your memory.
I actually don't have the affidavit with me at the moment. I do have some of the records, but...
well, let me just approach you then and hand you your affidavit, paragraph 13, and see if that refreshes your memory.
Thank you. Yes.
What did she say to Dr. Tufts?
She reported, Dr. Tufts reported that Lindsay's psychiatric condition was generally deteriorating. That's a checkbox on one of the forms that her records...
what did Lindsay say her symptoms were at that point?
That she was having the racing thoughts, and that she was also feeling, as I said, not like herself. That her depression was worse than it had been. I believe that's also around the time that Dr. Tufts thought of trying a medication called Zulresso.
Zulresso?
Yes.
And what is that? Is that, you need that by way of injection?
Yes, Zulresso is no longer marketed. It wasn't a particularly successful medication. It requires a 60-hour continuous IV infusion.
In a hospital setting or in a medical setting?
You have to be medically monitored. It doesn't necessarily need to be a hospital, but those are not necessarily things that can be done outside of a hospital.
So she didn't do the Zolresso, though, right?
She did not. It also costs $34,000 just for the medication, not for the monitoring.
Okay. What's the next thing that happened with Dr. Tufts and Lindsay Clancy, sir?
Well, if I look at my affidavit, when she stopped taking the medication, the Zoloft, she now felt better, as she had felt before she took the Zoloft, but she was less anxious.
What was the next medication?
She was put on Benadryl and had some difficulty sleeping, but also was worried that night because her son was coughing, and she worried a great deal about the children's health.
And that would be something that would also intrude on her sleep, worrying about her children?
Yes.
Okay. What other symptomology traveling through November into December did she relate to Dr. Tufts, according to your review of the medical records?
Well, she talked about things like dizziness, feeling sedated in the morning when she woke up, if she got any sleep at all, and I think she used the term brain fog at times. These are sometimes symptoms that people who are experiencing postpartum depression frequently complain about. She continued to complain about anxiety.
Well, it's not what they're complaining about, it's what they're living, right?
It is a very unpleasant experience, yes.
And continuing on through November, at some point did she leave or stop with Tufts and go to another healthcare provider by way of either emergency room initially and then another healthcare provider?
Yes.
Who was that?
She started treatment with Rebecca Gelada, a nurse practitioner at South Shore perinatal program.
Now, one of the things that was apparent, that we, if you recall, I believe, that she also had initially been referred there by a friend of the family. Is that right, to that perinatal clinic?
Yes, my understanding from the records is that Miss Clancy's mother-in-law was friendly with a nurse practitioner who practiced in the perinatal program, and I believe it actually started the perinatal program.
Yes, and ultimately, or in the beginning, she was treated by a Julie Paul. Is that correct?
Yes.
You remember looking at the medical records and that on November 27th of 2022, the nurse practitioner Julie Paul reported that Lindsay stated that she was disassociated, and she was not in touch with reality. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And what is that a symptomology? Is that a symptom of psychosis, to be disassociated and not in touch with reality?
It certainly can be. Dissociation it can mean that people feel like things around them are not real.
Right, and that's a pretty serious feeling to have, right?
It is.
And that's pretty common, unfortunately, with women that have postpartum psychosis, right?
It certainly can be, yes.
And what are the other symptomologies of postpartum psychosis, sir?
Well, psychosis in general just means a lack of understanding of what's real as opposed to what is not. So a person with psychosis can have delusions, which are fixed false beliefs. They could believe that, for example, they have been told by God to do something.
Okay.
They can also have hallucinations at times.
What kind of hallucinations?
Most people have auditory hallucinations, not visual hallucinations.
Hearing. Is that correct? Auditory is hearing, right?
Yes.
Okay, as opposed to what?
As opposed to visual hallucinations.
Visual. And in the course of reviewing the medical records, did you see that, in fact, that Lindsay had auditory, no visual hallucinations, but auditory voices?
At times, she reported that she had heard a voice, yes.
Okay. Do you recall that as the time went by, that she, in December, do you remember seeing in the medical records that she was relating that she was heavy, that she couldn't get out of bed, that she couldn't bathe, that she couldn't react, she couldn't love, she couldn't feel? Do you remember any of that from looking at the medical records?
Yes, those are all phrases that I recall from the medical records.
They were all coming from her, right?
Yes.
To the doctors.
Yes.
That would be Dr. Tufts and then Dr. Gelada. Is that right?
Nurse Gelada.
Sorry, nurse practitioner Gelada. Do you recall, sir, that nurse practitioner Gelada prescribed additional medications to Lindsay during that period of time from November through December?
Yes.
Can you tell us what they were?
I'd have to look to be sure, but I believe she continued the Benadryl at times, and there was some talk about the use of Buspar, but I believe that was Dr. Tufts.
About the what? I'm sorry?
I said it. I'm sorry?
What was the word you just used?
Sorry, Buspar, which is the brand name for buspirone, which is an anti-anxiety medication.
Right. How about Remeron? Was there ever a prescription for Remeron?
Remeron is a different kind of antidepressant, which helps people sleep a little bit and also sometimes helps their appetite. Yes, that was another.
The answer is yes, she was prescribed Remeron?
Yes, she was.
And that's an antidepressant?
It is.
Is that mocking or similar to, but not exactly the same as the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, Zoloft, Prozac, things of that nature, right?
It's similar in the sense that it has an antidepressant effect. It has some effect on serotonin. It has some effect on the adrenal, adrenergic system as well.
What?
The adrenergic system. Adrenaline is a neurotransmitter. It's also a hormone that circulates if you are suddenly scared or something like that. You get a surge of adrenaline. So if you were in a near-miss car accident, you might find yourself shaking because adrenaline will flood into your system from the adrenal glands. But it's also a neurotransmitter, and mirtazapine has some effect on that.
Then you said mirtazapine. Is that the same as Remeron?
Yes, sorry.
So it's two different names, generic and
mirtazapine is the generic name, and I was taught to use generic names, but yes, Remeron is.
Around this time, Lindsay has been prescribed the Prozac, she had been prescribed the Remeron, she had been prescribed the Benadryl, she had been prescribed other medications very similar to the SSRIs. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, and the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, that's fancy word. What does it mean? Isn't that serotonin in your brain? Doesn't it block or in some fashion affect your brain?
It's a little complicated to explain, but serotonin...
Tell the jury what serotonin means and what happens when you take an SSRI, please.
Okay, serotonin, in this sense, is a neurotransmitter. The brain is a relatively complicated place. It has about 86 billion nerve cells. They've got thousands of connections to each other, but they're not like the wires in your house where you put two pieces of wire together, twist the copper, and then put a nut on that. Nerves don't touch. They go close to each other, but there's a space between them, and that's called the synaptic cleft. One nerve secretes a neurotransmitter into the synaptic cleft, and it moves over to the next nerve in line where there's a receptor. Serotonin does that in the synaptic cleft. But it's also taken back up by the nerve that secreted it so it's reuptaked. So a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor slows down the reuptake of serotonin, prolonging its activity in the synaptic cleft, which causes the next nerve in line to be activated. I'm sorry that it's so complicated. So that's what serotonin is doing, and that's what a reuptake inhibitor does.
When a woman is pregnant or has just had a baby, can you tell me what effect, for example, hormones have when a person has a baby? I know two guys, but I mean, do you know what happens when a woman has a baby?
I've been at quite a few deliveries, yes.
Okay.
The fact is that many hormones increase. So progesterone is a hormone that many people have heard of. It's a component of birth control pills because it promotes gestation. So progesterone in a birth control pill fools the body into thinking it's pregnant, which means it doesn't, the woman doesn't produce eggs that could be fertilized, and that's the way the birth control pill works, or some of them do. Progesterone goes down very quickly after birth, as do many other hormones that are going up and then down after birth.
So if the hormones go up, and if there's an overload, if you will, might be the wrong word, of hormones, what effect does that have on the human body? What effect does that have on a woman who's just had a baby?
Well, it's quite complicated.
Just tell us basically what your feeling is. If they want to get into it, they can ask. But what effect does it have on a woman that has a baby?
Well, one of the other hormones that goes up is prolactin. So after the woman gives birth, prolactin promotes lactation, and it's a hormone that increases so that the mother can then breastfeed. These hormones are also seen in all mammals that feed their young through producing milk. So it's a very common mammalian thing to do. But other kinds of things can happen to...
Did you say males or mammals?
Mammals.
Okay, because males don't breastfeed, right?
I'm sure they don't, yes.
Okay, so as far as the hormone, again, I would ask, when a woman has a baby and the placenta, I think I pronounced that right, is through the birth, all of a sudden, what happens? It stops that massive influx of hormones, or it increases that influx of hormones?
Well, some hormones go up, like prolactin, and some hormones go down very quickly.
What effect does that have in your experience, and your education, and your research on women that have a baby? What effect does that have on them?
Well, many women experience postpartum blues.
What is postpartum blues?
It's a feeling of...
Thing.
I'm sorry?
Sounds like a 50s thing. What's postpartum blues?
It's a feeling of low energy and being sad, not as serious or usually as long as postpartum depression.
What is postpartum depression? Is that the next level?
It's a more serious condition where the woman may feel that she can't connect to the baby, that she feels isolated, she has no energy, she may also have insomnia.
So, for example, if a woman is unable to sleep, feels as though she's losing a contact or connection with her infant, is stressing about not having that contact with her infant, feels that she's unable to emote or feel love or any emotions and can't relate to people and also is out of reality, are those, or disassociated state, are those, in your opinion, symptoms of postpartum depression and or leading to postpartum psychosis?
Yes, they are.
And Lindsay had those symptoms, didn't she?
She reported all those symptoms, yes.
Doctor, when a doctor like Tufts is meeting with a person and checking boxes, can that doctor give a blood test to the patient?
Certainly.
Is that important in your opinion, that a doctor give a patient, especially a woman who's coming to them for help with these symptoms, give them a blood test?
Yes.
And again, we all know what blood tests are, but just tell me, I mean, is that a simple test? Is it a complicated test?
It's fairly simple to have blood drawn, and there are many tests that are relevant, particularly after a woman has given birth.
Why?
Well, some women become anemic. Depends on how much blood loss might have occurred during birth, but there's usually some blood loss. So checking hemoglobin levels is important. The thyroid can be affected by delivery of the baby, and some women in the postpartum period develop inflammation of the thyroid. The thyroid is a very important gland that regulates many parts of the body.
Is that why many times when a competent psychiatrist is treating a patient that is postpartum after having a baby, that they might run, and I may be wrong saying it, but a thyroid test?
They would do most commonly two different kinds of thyroid tests. They would test for thyroid stimulating hormone, which goes up when the thyroid hormones that also can be tested for actually go down. So thyroid stimulating hormone is telling the body, make more thyroid hormone because it's not enough in the circulation.
Did Tufts ever use a blood test at all in her treatment?
No, she did not.
Did Tufts ever check the thyroid levels of Lindsay Clancy at all during her treatment?
No, she did not.
How about Gelada? Did they test any of those things?
No, Nurse Gelada did not do blood testing either.
Now, you've made reference, sir, to postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis. You're familiar with the DSM, or what is referred to as DSM
5TR?
Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders.
Okay, so I do got a quick question because I know we supposed to be back in our other trial right now. And I know we were trying to, look, I did want to get through some testimony over here. Some of the highlight points. So we are basically like, this is day 14. Yesterday's testimony. I know there's one other doctor, Dr. Paul, I believe it is, that's going to testify. I think it's Paul. Yeah, Paul Zizel later, only because I want to hear when he talk about this voice, the voice of all voices, telling her not to clean the dishes, not to go down there and prepare her husband a bath, not the voice that told her it will be better tomorrow, not the voice that deterred her, the voice that said kill them all. I want to hear more about that voice stuff. So do me a favor, because I want to see where y'all at, because we got a lot of stuff to take care of. We very busy over here. I take it to trial, regardless of whatever facts. So do we want to stop here and go back to our Florida trial? We do have our trial that will begin in Vegas at 1:00. With Tupac and Keefe D. So y'all let me know. So we got about 2 hours until we go into our Keefe D trial, or do y'all want to continue here and just go straight into our KVD trial? We can get as much as we can covered for today. Not sure how much information we'll be able to, maybe we can even look at some of today's testimony. But y'all tell me what y'all want to do. Hey, this is y'all world, baby. I'm just here. Ulan, I cannot with you, baby. You so silly. I cannot. Oh, man. Oh, baby, I know that feeling. We can go on and on for days. You better than me. You are better than me. I was like, especially when they get mean. It depends on what kind you have, but when they get mean, baby, I was like, fuck no, you will not be mean to me. Huh. F you and all them Budweisers. But yeah, you definitely gotta have it. Kudos to you, baby. So guys, what do y'all want to do? One, y'all want to stay with this Lindsay stuff, or two, we need to go to back to floor till we get to our Nevada trial. Only so I can know, because I did have it scheduled and I want to move it. Oh girl. Oh gosh. Oh, I don't even know what to say about that. Not the mean one. Gee whiz. You know, you get some that are depressive, alcoholics. Then you get some that are mean, and then the mean ones, boy. Oh. Mm, 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 mm. Mm, 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 mm. Mm, 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 mm. I don't even know. I'm gonna zip my lips. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna zip my lips. I probably don't have anything nice to say about the mean ones. I think I'll just push our other stream back, and then we'll just stay in this Lindsay, and we'll stay in LC until it's time for us to go to Tupac. And I will, once we go, until it's just time for us to go over to Tupac, guys. Okay. Cool. That works for you guys. Only because I'm gonna kind of limit all our movements today, and I don't want us to be behind on every trial. So I will just move that until we get done with Tupac for today. Okay. Y'all got that? Good. All right, let's go ahead and continue to listen, because I want to hear the cross-examination, because Eva said the cross-examination had her crying, and I think I don't know if it was laughing or which kind of crying, but I want to see it.
5, you said TR, that would be right there, meaning text revision?
Correct.
All right. And I'm approaching you with this and asking, you see that section there? Yes. And what is that section?
The bipolar and related disorder section?
What is bipolar disorder? What does that mean?
Bipolar is the newer name for what used to be called manic depressive illness. It describes an illness where people's moods go up, which is the manic phase, and then go down, which is the depressed phase. There are different categories of bipolar disorder. Bipolar 1 is the most serious. Bipolar 2 disorder also has similar fluctuations of mood, but in both cases of bipolar disorder, most people spend more time being depressed than they do being manic.
Now, just tell me, what does manic mean? What does that actually mean?
They feel usually euphoric, that they don't have...
They're up?
You're really up. You're extremely optimistic. You might spend a lot of money foolishly, but you wouldn't worry about that because certainly you're going to win the lottery. You can just feel it. So there can be psychotic thoughts along with bipolar mania, unreasonable expectations. Like I said, that you are destined to win the lottery, or in serious cases, you can believe that God is speaking to you and has appointed you to do some special thing in life.
How about excessive cleaning and, let's say, divesting oneself of personal property, cleaning garages, things of that nature?
There was talk in the records of an episode where Miss Clancy and her husband cleaned out the garage, but it was difficult to tell from the records whether or not that represented what we would call a hypomanic episode.
Exercise. Was there a lot of references to exercise?
There were a lot of references to exercise, and exercise can be a very useful thing.
Sure, that's one of the things that a woman postpartum may very well be prescribed to do by a doctor or a nurse practitioner like Charlotta, right?
I believe that nurse practitioner Julie Paul recommended a long run at one point.
So there's nothing wrong with a woman going to, let's say, Kingsbury or whatever it is, or taking her kids to the local gym with a swimming pool and trying to get some exercise in the postpartum stage. That doesn't, that's something you would hold against her.
No.
Okay. Now, how about, are you aware that within a very short period of time after she had baby Callan, that she actually ran a road race?
Yes.
Is that indicative of a person that's kind of ramped up and doing these things you're talking about?
It's unusual to decide to run so soon after delivering a baby. I believe that she ran on the day that she might have delivered her last child, Callan.
That's correct. So during the month of December, in your review of the records, would you agree that her symptoms that she has related to the doctors that were there to help her, they basically increased, did they not?
I'm sorry, I couldn't
They
quite hear.
increased.
Yes.
And are you aware that then she went somewhere voluntarily in December?
Yes.
Where?
She went to the Mass General Emergency Room on, I believe that was in December. She had gone to the South Shore Emergency Room previously.
And
what I can say so far is that when I'm listening to this doctor testify, it sounds like, Reddington wants to get certain stuff out of him, but it don't sound like he really has it to give, if that makes sense. Let's skip ahead and go to the prosecution's cross-examination.
Come on.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
You spent some time when you first got to the stand going over your qualifications and I think.
Yes, from 25 to 50.
And you didn't review any police reports to identify that there were only 7 pills missing from that bottle of sertraline, did you?
I did not review a police report, no.
So if a person takes 7 pills over 1 week period at 25 milligrams, how do they increase the dose without more pills missing from the bottle?
Well, I believe if you took 3 or 4 pills for a few days of 25, then you still would have enough pills to take 2 25s and increase the dose to 50.
Right, but if a prescription reads that if 30 are filled and only 7 are missing from the pill bottle when it's located months later, then if you've taken 7 pills, you've taken 1 pill each day, correct?
Not necessarily. I believe that she stopped taking the medication rather quickly. And I'm not sure which pill bottle you're discussing because, as you said, I didn't review a police report.
Okay.
I think this is very important stuff on cross-examination. I know everybody hates the prosecution team for the most part when we talk about this stuff, but did y'all just hear that notion that she just made? Now, putting it in that sense. Now, she's saying, hey, if only 7 pills are gone and the prescription says take 25 milligrams for a week and then increase to 50, if only 7 are gone, like, what do you do with that? That means she only took it for 7 days. She never did the increase. And then now we can get to our next point of contention in regards to this. But it sounded like he was almost about to try to say that, okay, well, maybe she only took 3 pills at the 25 and she started increasing her dose to 50 way faster. That may be that's like, I don't know if that's a good thing. Okay, guys. I mean, I'm listening. I know everybody, you know, for what it's worth, the prosecution team is doing the best that they can do with what they got. I mean, in regards to the prosecution, I don't know what they were supposed to do. I'm not gonna be the person here to tell you what they were supposed to do. All I know is 3 babies are gone. So if they wouldn't have brought charges, I probably would have felt some type of way. They brought charges, I feel some type of way. I don't know, but this is very important. They must have some reason that they wanted to bring these charges like this. But here we go.
Now, you're aware that on December 15th, that the defendant and her husband reported that she was having persistent intrusive thoughts that day, correct?
Yes.
And that's the day she first presented to Mass General Hospital.
Yes.
And you're aware that Mass General Hospital is directly affiliated with McLean Hospital, right?
They are affiliated, yes.
And that she was advised to go to the inpatient program, and she chose not to go.
Yes.
From reviewing the records, did you see how Letitia Dukes, a social worker, or a mental health worker, excuse me, from the South Shore Perinatal Behavioral Health Clinic, had previously had discussions with the defendant about going to women and infants before her presentation to the Mass General ER on December 15th?
Yes.
And she didn't, in fact, go to that program until December 20th. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Now, you also mentioned in your review of the medications, lamotrigine. You recall that?
Yes.
And that was a medication that was prescribed to the defendant in December of 2022, correct?
Correct.
You're aware that she never took lamotrigine?
I believe that's what she said, yes.
Now, you also were asked, or you spoke about Seroquel. So you're familiar with the prescriptions, or what was prescribed of the Seroquel over the period of time from November 30th through early December, correct?
Yes.
You reviewed that. And so I think you testified on direct examination that the initial dose was a low dose, 25 milligrams.
Correct.
And you're familiar, that is a fairly common dosage, a low dose to prescribe to address some sleep issues.
It is, yes.
And you're aware that for people who are suspected or have bipolar disorder, that the levels of prescribed are generally much higher than 25 milligrams, right?
Yes, they would be.
They could range anywhere from 100 milligrams to up to, well, what is the range, if you know?
It would go up to 800 milligrams.
And so in this circumstance, you're aware that Rebecca Gelada had suspicions about bipolar disorder, right?
She mentions it as a distinct possibility, yes.
And without relief, she recommends titrating or going up on the Seroquel over a period of time, right?
Yes.
And you settled on a number of 400, but you know from the records that that was the goal, to titrate up to 400 milligrams. Do you know if the defendant ever took 400 milligrams?
I do not.
And you're also aware that once the defendant started reporting having symptoms and concerns about the Seroquel, that she had requested to taper off the Seroquel, correct?
Yes.
And you're aware that prior to her presentation at McLean Hospital, that Rebecca Gelada actually did send in a prescription that would allow for her to taper down.
Yes.
And when the defendant was admitted to McLean Hospital on January 1st, she was already on a taper plan, meaning she had gone back down to approximately 100 milligrams per night.
I believe she was, yes.
And that at McLean, they further immediately started to reduce the dosage with each night.
I believe that was the plan at McLean, yes.
So the first night she was there, she went down to 75 milligrams, correct?
I believe that's correct, yes.
And then by the time she was discharged, she was at 0.
Yes, and they were talking about the amitriptyline.
Well, did she leave McLean Hospital with a prescription for amitriptyline?
I don't know if she left with a prescription, but it was discussed in the records that they recommended that.
And as of January 12th of 2023, you're aware that the only active prescriptions for the defendant were for amitriptyline, right?
Yes.
And Valium as needed and trazodone.
That sounds correct, yes.
So throughout the course of your review of the records and all of the different medications that she was on from October through January, she wasn't on all the medications at the same time, correct?
No, not at the same time.
And it's fair to say she was only on maybe 3 medications at one time.
3, there might have been 4 at one point, but yes.
And she had expressed particular medications that she wished to return to, like Ativan at some point, correct?
She was quite ambivalent about Ativan and talked a great deal in the records about being worried that she was addicted to it.
But Ativan tended to work for her, correct?
It made her feel less anxious, yes.
And she actually described that at certain points to the providers that when she felt intrusive thoughts or she had a bad experience, that she took the Ativan and the thoughts were gone. Didn't she not?
I'm not sure that she said the intrusive thoughts were gone, but she would feel less anxious when she took it.
And as far as your conversations about hallucinations and auditory hallucinations, you indicated that at some point, or at points, I think was your testimony, that the defendant did hear a voice. But you're aware that she never reported to Jennifer Tufts that she heard a voice?
She did not.
She never reported to Rebecca Gelada that she heard a voice, did she?
She did not.
She never reported to Letitia Dukes that she heard a voice?
She did not.
And the only time she's ever said that she heard this voice was on January 24th of 2023. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
Thank you. Nothing further.
So when the district attorney asks you whether or not Lindsay, after all the symptoms that we've already gone through.
Okay, so I'm gonna go past this. This portion right here. I'm assuming it's probably when they went to lunch or something, but let's get into Dr. Paul. Oh no, Dr. Oh, I forgot about Dr. She's on Zoom.
Zoom rather than appearing in person as you intended to do. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh. Tell us what you do for work, doctor.
Well, I'm a medical doctor, board certified in anatomic and forensic pathology. So I have an active practice in forensic pathology where I review cases to understand how people get injured or how people die.
And can you tell us your educational background?
Certainly. I graduated from Bucknell University in 1975, cum laude with honors in biology. I went to University of Maryland School of Medicine, where I graduated with an MD degree in 1979. I did my 2 years internship at Johns Hopkins Hospital in anatomic pathology, which is the study of diseases of the body. Then I trained in St. Louis, Missouri, with a fellowship in forensic pathology, which is understanding causes of death and how trauma affects the body.
Autopsy photographs that you would...
Do you want to take that? It might be just kind of confusing with that, but we can go back, we'll get back to the charts when we do that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The autopsy photographs, did you have a chance to review those, doctor?
Yes, I did.
And in your extensive experience, have you had a chance to see autopsy photographs of young children, infants, adults, people being examined prior to an autopsy and of course during an autopsy?
Oh, yes, many, many, many.
Now, my question simply is, did you notice on the autopsy photographs of the children what, let's say, have been referred to as bruises to this jury? Are you aware of that testimony?
Yes, there were bruises consistent with active children jumping and running.
And how about medical treatment and procedure? Did you make any observations, in your opinion, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty as to the cause, for example, on the infant's head, bruising on the head, what appears to be bruising?
Yes, on Callan, when he was in the hospital, and there are even photographs of him in the hospital, he had EKG or EEG, electroencephalogram, monitoring devices attached to his head so the doctors could follow his brain waves. And they are little round cup-like things, and so where they were attached actually on both sides of his head, they did leave a small little brown kind of parallel mark, little lines there that were from medical treatment for monitoring his brain waves. He also had many puncture wounds and evidence of medical treatment in that way.
And did you also notice that there would appear to be on occasion fluid that might be mistaken for a bruise?
That's possible, yes. If there is some liquid fluid that's a little blood tinged, you could see it on the surface of the skin, then there would be something you could wipe off.
So, for example, doctor, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty on the photographs of the infant that show what you say were the couplet marks on the area of the skull, they don't come from anybody squeezing, beating, pushing, or causing any injury to that child, in your opinion. Is that correct?
No, absolutely not, no.
Doctor, you also had a chance to review the medical records of Lindsay Clancy when she went to the South Shore Hospital and then subsequently went to the Brigham and Women's Hospital. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you don't have to get into detail. We've heard it a number of times, but there were injuries to her left wrist, her right wrist, her neck. Is that correct?
Yes, there were sharp force injuries to those areas.
And in your practice as a pathologist, have you had occasion over the years and over the many cases that you have had involvement with to observe self-inflicted wounds to a person's wrist or their neck in the course of a suicide attempt?
Oh, many times.
And can you tell the jury, to your opinion, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, as to the nature of these injuries, and are they consistent with somebody trying, in your opinion, trying to kill themselves?
Objection. Sustained.
So you would agree that there's an injury to the left wrist, injury to the right wrist, that's a sharp incised wound, is that correct?
Yes, they're cutting type wounds made by a sharp object such as a knife.
Okay. And how about the neck? Did that penetrate the fascia or did that penetrate the skin? To what degree?
Yes, there were also linear, superficial incised wounds to her neck, and there were several of them, and one or two of them went deeper. There was bleeding also from the wounds on her wrist, and there were numerous attempts at cutting the skin, which we call hesitation marks, which are a classic finding in suicide attempts. And those incisions did cut in through the skin and cut blood vessels that were under the skin. And you can also tell from looking at the photos of Lindsay taken in the hospital when she was first admitted, and also when the photograph of her bedroom, you can see there is significant bloodshed event from those cutting injuries.
Now, did she also sustain an injury to her neck from your review of the medical records?
Yes.
Can you tell us what type of injury, and if we could, and if it assists the jury with you, you can make reference to the pages of the little report and the diagrams, page 4, 5, and 6, and tell us what we're looking at.
Okay, let's see. So are we ready to look at number 4?
Sure. Yep, start off with 4.
Okay. So...
Just so I think that's the first page that you have, so just...
Yes, that's right. Yes. Page 4 is actually page 1. Yeah, so what we have here is to show you how Lindsay was injured. And I got this from the scene photographs, from all her medical history, and my knowledge and training, understanding how injuries happen to the body. So if we look at the left-hand side of this panel, we see a depiction of the back side of the house, and the top window on the second floor is open. That's where she would have put her palm down on the windowsill and put her head out and precipitated down to fall on the hard frozen ground. During her fall, head first, she had cuts on her wrists which were bleeding, and her coming head down on the side of that building would then transfer some of that blood onto the side of the building, which was found in the scene photograph. She then hits really head first, as her body descends that 13 or 14 feet. And if you look at so she really did a free fall dive head first. Then if you look on the right upper 2 diagrams that just show a skull, this illustrates the forces then that were applied to Lindsay's head from hitting the ground and then her head bending a little bit. And what she got from that is what we call a characteristic burst fracture or a Jefferson fracture. And this is a fracture that we see with people who hit their head on, like if they've taken a dive into a swimming pool and they hit their head on the bottom. It's a classic finding in people who have energy applied to the falling head. And what it does is that it takes the first cervical vertebrae, which kind of looks like a donut, as you see up there in the middle, and it squashes it. The base of the skull then squashes that, and then like a donut, it kind of spreads it out. And she had 6 or 7 fractures of that cervical vertebrae. Number 1, the ring of that. And the fractures I have pointed to there with arrows. So that is called the characteristic Jefferson fracture from hitting your head, the top of your head, in a dive first position. So you could also describe it as a bursting type fracture. But you don't get any spinal cord injury from that because the area, the hole in the middle is pretty big, so it just crushes down on the sides and fractures the ring around the spinal cord. So that tells me immediately that she landed head first and went down the window, went down head first. Then the energy is transmitted then from her head down her vertebral body, down the bony spine, and that then fractured and compressed C1. The lower right-hand panel there puts that cervical vertebral body in the context of the rest of her skeleton. The left upper hand, we see her jaw, and then the C1 is pointed out there, and there are little springs there to indicate they were squished and compressed together and fractured.
Now, looking at the next page, which would be 5, does that assist us in looking at the illustration of the injury to the spine?
Yeah, so this is after her head hits, so she gets her head first, then there is some flexion of her body, and the energy from the impact is transmitted down her vertebral column. And what that did was it crushed a number of her thoracic vertebrae or vertebrae in the chest area and actually made thoracic vertebral body T5 be compressed and move over the top of the lower vertebrae, and that is what injured her spinal cord. In the right-hand panel there, the yellow tube coming down is the spinal cord, and the thoracic vertebral 5 and 6 is pictured there, and you can see that her whole spinal column was compressed and it moved forward and out of place, causing her spinal cord injury. There were also injuries that are indicated by little red stars there, and those are fractures of the transverse processes of the cervical vertebrae. So when they were compressed, the areas where the joints are between the vertebrae were compressed and fractured those transverse processes. So she had a bending injury, and she also had a right posterior rib injury. You can see on the left-hand panel, her shoulders are also hitting the ground, and that caused a fracture of the right first rib in the back, and the flexion of her neck also damaged her thyroid gland and some of her voice box cartilages.
And if we look at panel page 6, can you tell us what we're looking at there?
Yes, this is the final resting position of Lindsay's body, as documenting all the materials I reviewed that are on the left-hand side. So she is lying down on hard, frozen ground. Her clothing is wet. She has on indoor clothing. The time that this occurred, it was dark and no sun. The temperature was in the low 30s, so she is going to be at risk of her body temperature going down, lying on that cold ground. In addition to, now that her thoracic chest spine is fractured, that has totally disrupted the thermal regulation of the bottom half of her body. So she is going to lose heat from the lower half of her body and to approach ambient temperature. So there she is lying there on the ground. Then if we go to the right side of that, this is a scene photograph showing the area where Lindsay's body landed. You can see on the right at the base area, there is some medical debris from the EMS emergency treatment. Then circled in, or put in a red square, is a little bit of snow that has some blood on it, which would correspond to her position lying down as we see it in the left-hand side there.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, then the last bit here is a X-ray of Lindsay, which was taken in early February after she had surgical stabilization of her fractured spine. So this is looking at the side of her, and you can see the hardware, which they look like little golf tees going to the left side. So this is the surgical metal hardware that was placed in her spine to open up and align her spine to try to preserve any function that was still available.
Now, doctor, when she went to the Brigham and Women's Hospital, were you reviewing the medical records and able to discern that she actually coded as a result of her injuries?
Yes, she did. She was in spinal shock and hypothermia, and her heart did stop.
And did you observe that there were, and I quote, massive blood transfusions to treat her at Brigham and Women's?
Yes, she lost a lot of blood around the muscles that hold the spine up because that was so damaged. So her hemoglobin and hematocrit and her red blood cell level was very low on admission.
And the final question I had, doctor, is as it relates to the records, it showed that she had a core body temperature of 82 degrees as opposed to 98.6, which we're accustomed to. Can you tell the jury, in your opinion, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, what does that mean and how did that happen? I mean, that's pretty low.
Yes, that is low. That's like, 16 degrees below normal. And so her low body temperature came from lying on the hard frozen ground, which would be 32 degrees frozen ground. She had wet clothing on, so wet clothing is going to transmit the body heat into the atmosphere quicker than dry clothing. It was indoor clothes. She didn't have a big parka on. There was no sun at that time to keep her body temperature up. The ambient or the air temperature was around 30 degrees. She has a thin body, and also, most importantly, because of that thoracic spinal cord transection, she lost the ability to control her body temperature below that level. So that means all her blood vessels just dilate and they just lose heat to the atmosphere.
Thank you very much, sir.
Attorney Sprague?
Thank you. Dr. Lakasada?
Yes.
You were head of the Rhode Island Office of the Chief Medical Examiner when it was cited for 10 violations and unsafe conditions, correct?
Yes, the unsafe condition was a light bulb out in a hallway, a computer in a hallway, and a few other minor things. I was very happy to have a safety inspection.
Right, those were the unsafe conditions, but there were also 10 other violations, correct?
They were minimal. I don't recall them. It was 20 years ago.
You didn't treat Ms. Clancy, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't examine her yourself, correct?
Correct.
Now, you talked about a Jefferson fracture and or a C1 burst fracture and how it can be from hitting the top of your head, correct?
Yes.
Isn't it also true that you can sustain a burst fracture by hitting the back of your head or the top of your shoulders as well?
No.
You say that she fell from 13 feet from the windowsill onto her head, the top of her head, correct? Onto the frozen ground?
Yes.
And you're saying that she fell with such force that she burst her C1 vertebrae and then broke other vertebrae in her back and broke ribs, correct?
Yes, just the force of a free-falling body, yes.
Okay, but she had no injuries to her head, correct?
I'm sure she had bruising to her scalp under her hair.
You're sure?
She did not have a skull fracture.
Right, she didn't have a skull fracture, correct?
Yes.
She didn't have any cuts or things that needed sutures, correct?
She needed sutures in the cutting wounds on her wrist.
Well, we're talking about her head right now. She didn't need any sutures on her head, correct?
Correct.
She didn't have any large dents in her head, correct?
Large dents? What do you mean?
From hitting the frozen ground head first, there were no dents or bumps or sutures required on her head, correct?
Her scalp was intact. The forces were transmitted to C1.
So through her head.
A very common finding when you go head first and hit your head.
So hitting the frozen ground, the icy frozen ground, not a bump or scratch or scrape on her top of her head, and then within her head, there was no brain bleed, there was no hemorrhaging, there was no injury into her brain itself. Nothing showed up on the CT scans, correct?
Right, her brain was fine, her skull was fine. I'm sure she probably had some scalp bruising under her hair.
You're sure because that goes along with what you're guessing at how the fall happened, correct? You can't be sure because you didn't see the head, correct? You say you're sure, but you didn't see her head.
I saw the medical records and I examined all of those. I'm sure she had some bruise on the top of her head to the backside, as I showed in my diagram number 4. I'm sure there was some bruising on her scalp under her hair, but that was not a major concern at the time she was taken into the hospital.
You keep saying you're sure there were bruises, that you're sure that there was this or that that's not shown in any photographs or medical evidence. So you're not sure, are you? You're assuming.
No, I'm sure.
Okay. Let me show you some photographs here.
Excuse me. No,
let me show you. I'm asking the questions. Let me show you some photographs
okay, go
here.
ahead.
Let me show you some photographs of the defendant that were taken at the hospital of her head. Show them. Do we have sharing privileges on the computer?
Whatever you want, we'll do it.
Showing you here a photo of the top of the defendant's head. No.
Yes, I see that.
Cuts, no swelling, correct?
Oh, we just see her hair.
There's no blood on the white sheet, correct?
Wait, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you just asked me.
There's no blood on that very white sheet, correct?
Well, I don't see what's under her head, but that's not relevant to understanding that she did fall head first.
Okay, so you're saying she fell head first from 13 feet onto hard, frozen ground and had no visible injuries to the exterior of her head?
Yes.
And you're saying that she...
Excuse me, I'm
It was a yes or no question, doctor.
Listen, hold on. Doctor, listen to the question, answer the question, and then we'll just go from there. Go ahead. Ms. Sprague, if you want to re-ask that question.
Doctor, yes or no, she fell to the ground, frozen ground, and then had no apparent injury to the exterior of her head, correct?
Correct.
And she fell head first to the frozen ground and not with enough force to break several vertebrae in her ribs, but did not have a skull fracture, a brain bleed, or anything else, any other type of injury to her head, correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Move to put the photographs we were just showing into evidence.
Any objection? All right, they may be admitted.
It's 282.
Doctor, in your report that you provided to defense counsel, you also talked about the strangulation of the children, correct?
I did.
And in your report, you wrote that it would have taken 5 to 10 seconds for unconsciousness to occur, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you recall testifying previously in State of Rhode Island versus Kimberly Fry, case number W1/2010-0413A? Do you recall testifying previously in that case?
No, I don't.
Let me refresh your memory. It was a woman who had killed her 8-year-old daughter by asphyxia, and you testified.
Oh, yes, manual strangulation, yes.
Yeah, so ring a bell?
Yes.
Okay, and so you testified back in 2011 in that case, and you were asked, if you have a very complete compression, strike that, you were asked, unconsciousness due to oxygenation can occur within 10 to 20 seconds. And you said if you have a very complete compression of the blood vessels of the neck, you can become unconscious within 10 to 20 seconds. And then you were asked, I'm just saying hypothetically, just strangulation alone is 10 to 20 seconds. And you said if it is effectively and continuously applied, like in a lateral vascular neck restraint, most times there is a struggle going on, so you can't quite get that. So in that case there, you didn't testify that it was 5 to 10 seconds. You testified that it was 10 to 20 seconds, and that if there's any struggling, it could be longer, correct?
Yes, but that case was...
Well, that was a yes or no question.
It's not a yes or no question.
All right.
Defense can follow up.
Hold on. She's answered the question, and then we'll have a redirect if counsel would like to.
Well, I don't remember
Hold on,
what I
doctor.
said.
Why don't you, doctor,
Sorry.
wait for a question.
You were also asked in that same trial, doctor, the question put to you in that trial was, but once that unconsciousness set in, you agree with me that there had to have been a consistent application of pressure, either suffocation, strangulation, or compressions of the chest for 2 to 3 more minutes continuously while the child was unconscious, correct? And you answered, I think that's a fair statement. And the question was, you said that before yourself, correct? And you answered yes. And then the question was, I'm asking your opinion, and you said, the question was, after Camden became unconscious, after 2 to 3 minutes of continuous application of one of those 3, and you answered correct. Is that right?
I have no memory of that. I'm sure you're reading it correctly.
Well, you have memory of your medical knowledge, correct?
Sure, I have memory of my medical knowledge.
And so at that point in time, in 2011, you testified that you would have to strangle someone 10 to 20 seconds at least to unconsciousness, and then you would have to continue to strangle them for 2 to 3 minutes for death to occur, and you said correct. Is that still your medical knowledge?
That's a different case. That was not ligature, that was a manual.
So either way, you're talking about the compression of the neck causing a loss of oxygen and blood, correct?
I'll allow this question. Go ahead.
Yeah, there are many ways that can occur, and the way the pressure is applied is very important in understanding how long it takes to become unconscious. These are the children here were the victims of what we call ligature strangulation. The Fry case that's coming back to me a little now, that was a manual strangulation and also a body compression, which is a totally different type of asphyxia.
I mean, you were asked about that in that case, and you were asked, but once unconsciousness has set in, you agree with me that there has to be consistent application of pressure, either suffocation, strangulation, or compressions for 2 to 3 minutes more, and you answered correct. So not all 3. You said either one of those could cause death after 3 minutes, correct?
Yeah, just if you could rephrase that question.
You were asked, but once unconsciousness set in, you agree with me that there had to have been consistent application of pressure, either suffocation, strangulation, or compressions of the chest for 2 to 3 minutes more continuously while they're unconscious. And you said, I think that's a fair statement. So that's what you said, correct?
No, yes, in order to become dead, brain dead, you need the physiology is that you become unconscious within 5 to 10 seconds, and then you're unconscious, but that's not dead. Then that continued constriction of the blood flow has to be still continuously applied for the brain to die.
Correct.
So that is what happens, and that's what happened to the Clancy children. The ligatures were wrapped around. They went unconscious in 5 to 10, maybe 20 seconds, probably less than 20 seconds because it was a ligature, not a manual strangulation. So it was immediately compressed, unconsciousness within 10 seconds, and then death within 5 to 10 minutes after that.
With continuous pressure. With continuous pressure around the neck.
Yes, because this is a ligature strangulation.
Thank you.
Not manual.
Okay, so when you're talking about ligature strangulation as opposed to manual strangulation, tell us in your mind what that means.
Well, they're very, very different. Manual strangulation means that somebody's used their hand and they've pressed either side of the neck. Okay? That the hand is manual strangulation. Strangulation means that you have stopped the blood flow that comes out of your brain, and the carotid artery continues to pump oxygenated blood into your brain, but it can't drain out through the jugular veins. So with continuous pressure, then the blood can't get in because it can't flow out. It's kind of like stopping up a pipe. And then so you go unconscious within 5 to 10 seconds, but then with continued pressure, your brain dies. So the difference between manual and ligature is that manual can be kind of an off and on thing. You may you have a jugular vein on either side of your neck. So if you're using a hand, you might compress one greater than the other. You might let go. The person that you're trying to strangle may struggle and remove your hand a little bit. So it's a very different sequence of events to end up with brain death and asphyxia. Whereas wrapping a round loop resistance band, which is a ligature, immediately compresses those vessels. There's no coming off, there's no putting back on. So it's a very complete, one-time, immediate, non-varying compression with those exercise bands ligature, which causes unconsciousness effectively within 4 to 10 seconds.
And in reference to the manual strangulation, where generally somebody would use their hands and perhaps press with their thumbs, that has a very common, that you see many times, fracture of what's called the hyoid bone, correct?
Yes, that can happen, absolutely. A little U-shaped bone up underneath the jaw. So they both cause, brain death from lack of oxygen to the brain, but the way they get there, that's leading up to that, is a totally different pathophysiologic process.
So when counsel went through the Rhode Island case, whatever that name was, and was reading from a transcript and asking you questions about the time that a person through manual strangulation, and then she made reference to suffocation, she made reference to strangulation, she made reference to compression of the chest. That has nothing to do, in your opinion, with the ligature strangulation. Is that correct?
It's a totally different mechanism of injury.
Thank you.
Sprague.
Doctor, as you said a few moments ago, the ligature causes unconsciousness, and then the pressure has to continuously be applied for several minutes to cause death, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Anything further?
One other question. On the ligature, doctor, and we discussed this, is the ligature, does that require a person to stand over the body and continuously apply pressure to the ligature, or walk away leaving the ligature?
No, in this case, these were elastic round loops, that were put around, somewhat tightly, pinching the skin. You could see little lines where the skin was pinched, and it just stays there. So it's a immediate compression of those tubular veins, staying there, and then death occurs minutes later.
Thank you.
Doctor, did you see these exercise bands?
Yes.
And you know that they're one long line with a handle on each end, correct?
Right, and they're round. They're a cylinder.
Right.
They're not like a flat band.
And you know they were wrapped around each child's neck and pulled to strangle them, correct?
Well, they were wrapped several times, firmly enough around the neck to close off the jugular veins.
And you're not aware, there's been no testimony, no evidence, nothing showing that they were knotted and left there, correct?
Oh.
They weren't tied in a knot and left around their necks, according to any of the evidence, correct?
The important part to me was they were wrapped several times, and then whether it had a bow or a knot would not really be important. It was secure and wrapped around the neck several times. Yeah, I can tell that from the appearance of the skin on the neck that goes up.
She can't put them gloves on fast enough, baby.
Still the band, doctor. Wrapped around the child's neck several times and then left there. I guess you can't see it from where you are, but it just fell apart. It didn't stay in a circle.
Yeah, I sort of saw what you did, so.
What was that?
I said, I saw that.
You saw it. So it was left there and it fell apart, correct?
Yeah, what you just did. Sure.
That's true, y'all. I can pull out an exercise band right now and do the same thing.
All right, thank you, doctor.
You have to hold them together because they will come apart.
I see you.
That was good. That was good. I think that was good. God, okay, now come on, y'all. Y'all gonna stop this. Chat. The chat's saying, what y'all say? 42% says no, they're not believing. 33% says yes. 25% says pieces and parts. Man, y'all know how them exercise bands work. Like, you know that if you let it go, it starts to unravel. So, I mean, two things can be true. She could still be in a psychosis and she still could have been holding these bands for 5 minutes, y'all. Come on. Come on. I'm going to go look for the band. Oh, gosh. They got a band. I don't use it. I got to figure out where it's at. But I'm gonna find a band for y'all. Because it's no way. I know exactly what she doing. You say not if it's around the neck. So if it's around the neck, it won't untie? If you're not holding it? I'm scared to demonstrate with putting it around my neck because I don't want nobody to be calling the people on me. No, but they said it wasn't tied in the knot. You say no, not with tension and twisting, they would stay in place. Yeah, see, I think that you got to tie it in a knot, but remember, they said that these were not tied in a knot. Try on my wrist. I'm gonna look for him. Wait a minute. I'm gonna look for him. Wait a minute. I know I got some around here. Yeah, I don't know, y'all. I think two things can be true. I think that if even if she was in this psychosis break that everybody's saying that she was in, I still believe that she could have been holding this stuff down. But let's see what Paul got Zizil has to say. And I'm gonna look for him. Wait me, I'm about to look for him. Dang it.
So the government's evaluation.
Yes.
And did you consider the results in the interpretation of that test as part of your opinion for this jury?
Yes.
And to that extent, as you discuss whether or not somebody is faking or somebody is exaggerating, do you have an opinion based upon your review of the discovery in the case to a reasonable degree of medical certainty as to whether or not Lindsay Clancy, in the course of that evaluation, was malingering or lying or exaggerating?
Yes, I do.
Tell the jury.
My opinion in the testing of Ms. Clancy regarding the MMPI was that
Objection.
Just the doctor, your opinion, doctor.
she was not faking. There was no evidence of any malingering. She presented as an honest citizen.
Okay. Now, regarding your background, I may have jumped the gun. Tell us briefly what your educational background is.
I have a bachelor's degree from Queens College. I have a master's degree from Harvard University and a doctorate in clinical psychology from William James College.
And your career spans how many years, sir?
I've been licensed for 37 years.
And would you consider yourself to be a forensic psychologist?
Yes, I do.
And as you indicated, that's the interface between medicine and law. Is that correct? Forensic?
And mental health and law, yes.
Mental health and law, okay. In this case, your experience obviously is something somebody has to evaluate. Can you tell us your history as a psychologist? In other words, your experience that you've had in the field.
Yes. Well, in the field, I have, as a forensic psychologist, been involved in over 1,000 cases, testifying for both the Commonwealth as well as for Respondents' Counsel. I testify more for respondents or defendants these days. I've been qualified in every court in the Commonwealth with the exception of Nantucket because I've not done any cases in Nantucket County. I have a small private practice. I have done work with governmental agencies, a psychologist for the DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration, and I've worked as a federal contract as a vendor overseas for the State Department in Afghanistan.
How long were you in Afghanistan?
I was in Afghanistan from November 2007 to roughly mid-February 2011.
So for that 4-year period while you were in Afghanistan, what was the nature of your work?
The nature of my work was basically the equivalent through the military, the analogies with the military as a combat psychologist. I was embedded in the field. I would do evaluations, what we call critical incident debriefings, and when there would be multinational forces, and in Afghanistan it was the ISAF coalition, International Security Assistance Forces. That would be countries that were deployed over there. England, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, Portugal, Romania, Bulgaria, Australia, New Zealand, a total of 38 countries. I could go on, but I'm not going to. And I'd be loaned to various countries in different parts of the country to do debriefings after a critical incident, which would be what's called a TIC, TIC, troops in combat. I'd fly out, usually on a helicopter, do the debriefings of the people who survived those attacks, engaged in those attacks, and ensure that they were stable enough to continue and, if you will, fit for duty. I would also do evaluations on violence assessments, individuals who had problems maintaining their ability to function safely in a war zone where everyone carries at least one weapon, usually two, to ensure that they were able to be healthy for their work. And I would do various types of training and debriefing. I was also loaned out to other governmental agencies, the U.S. Marshals, the FBI, the CIA, and with each of them, and no electricity, quite remote, and I was on many, many dismounted patrols with the belief that having a... Yes?
You're also aware that I needed a court order to get you into the hospital.
That's correct.
And were you able to ultimately get in the hospital, go to the surgical unit, and meet with Lindsay?
Yes.
Jurors have had a chance to look at photographs of her laying in the bed with tubes and wires and all of that. Is that what she looked like when you first saw her?
Yes. However, she was also, with her right arm, as I recall, shackled to the bed with handcuffs.
So they're not little soft little things that tie her hands to the side of the bed with their handcuffs?
They weren't soft. They were regular, but appeared to be metal handcuffs that police officers and perhaps officers in this court use for detaining people and arresting people. So, they were not soft.
While she's laying in the bed, did she have the tubes and the wires for treatment in the emergency, the intensive care unit, I should say?
Yes.
Was she intubated at that point, if you recall?
She was not.
So she was able to speak?
Yes.
Was she able to move? Obviously, she's chained to the bed, so she couldn't get up.
She could not get up. She couldn't move below her sternum, the chest bone.
At that point, had you and I met and talked about this case at all?
No.
What was the reason I asked you to go to the hospital?
You were worried about her mental health, given the significant event that had just taken place a few days earlier. You were concerned that she had absolutely no ability to have visitors. Visitors were not permitted to meet with her, from family members to friends to a priest. No one was able to see her.
So as a result of that conversation we had, you went to the hospital, went into her room, and you were able to speak to her. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you tell the jurors, if you recall, what type of law enforcement presence? Uniform, cops, guns, stuff like that. What did you notice?
I noticed literally outside of her hospital room were two state troopers in their blue uniforms, sitting each in a chair on either side of the doorway to Ms. Clancy's room, with a nurse sitting in the corner of her room.
When you went in to see her on that date, was it your understanding she had recently been extubated? In other words, they removed the tube from her mouth?
Yes.
And do you recall the conversation that you had with Lindsay at that time?
Yes, I did.
Tell the jurors what your memory is.
The conversation I had with Ms. Clancy at that time was one where I asked if she knew where she was. So I did what's called a mental status exam, a brief mental status exam. It's orientation to time, place, location. She didn't know where she was, wasn't quite sure what time it was. She knew who she was. And she told me that she remembers what happened, but it was very fuzzy and foggy. At the time, she had been on medication for the significant pain post-surgery while in that hospital room.
And during the course of that interview with her, did she express any concern to you about her husband, Patrick?
Yes, she did.
Tell the jurors what she indicated to you.
She said, since 11 days prior to my meeting with her, which would have been January 24th, 2023, she had no contact with Patrick. She wanted to know how he was doing. She wanted to know if she could call him and find out where things are with her and with him and how he was faring, and to just speak with him.
She expressed concern about her family?
Yes, she did.
Did she express concern about what had happened?
Yes.
Did she ask you, or did you offer to her the ability to speak to her husband, Patrick?
She asked me if she could use my cell phone to call her husband.
Did she do that?
Yes, she did.
Did you hear the conversation?
Yes, I told her we'd call. It would have to be on speakerphone.
And tell us about that conversation.
So that first phone call, I believe on the 24th, he did not pick up. She left a message. I did not leave a message. We then called back 2 days later on the 6th.
And after the 2 days had transpired and the call was made on the 6th, did she have a chance to talk to Patrick?
Yes.
Were you there?
Yes.
Was she still chained to the bed?
Yes.
Were the cops still outside the room?
Yes, not in blues. They were in civilian clothing, jeans, flannel shirts.
And tell us what she said to Patrick in your presence on the speakerphone at that point.
She had told Patrick that she loved him very much. She was unable to express a lot of emotion, but she expressed love for him. And she had said that she heard a male voice ordering her, telling her that she didn't have any choice, but she had to kill her children and then kill herself.
Now, Doctor, have in mind your background, your career, Did you tell Lindsay Clancy to lie or make that up and pretend that she was hearing voices?
No.
Did you have any conversation, any suggestions to her at all that she should say she heard voices or anything like that?
Absolutely not.
Why did you let her call her husband on your cell phone?
I let her call her husband out of human compassion.
As time went by, did I then, oh, by the way, you've testified for me on other matters, have you not?
Yes.
We go back about 20 years?
Yes.
And we socialized together?
Yes.
So we're friends?
Yes.
And as you worked on the case, can you tell the jurors what information you had access to that would allow you to continue with your investigation as a psychologist?
I had access to her clinical records. Many of that were discussed here. Emergency records, grand jury minutes. With the longitudinal nature of my evaluation, I had records from Brigham and Women's, South Shore, Spalding Hospital, and most recently, Duxbury Hospital, which go back to, I believe, March 27th or so, 2023 till today.
How many times have you seen Lindsay since that day in January of 24?
So I've met with 2023. I've met with Ms. Clancy over 45 times since then, and that was at the writing and the issuance of my report to Attorney Reddington. That was in the middle of June, and I've seen Ms. Clancy since then 20 times probably, or 15, inclusive of being in this courtroom and sometimes meeting with her in the holding unit.
And you've had occasion to visit with her in Duxbury Hospital many, many of those times, right?
Yes.
And you've had occasion to visit with her in the lockup to this courthouse, correct?
Yes.
And she's been treated very well by everybody, the court officers, everybody, is that correct?
Objection. All of this.
Yeah, that's sustained.
Well, you've had a chance to see her in the lockup, right?
Yes.
Why would,
No, overruled.
why would you see her in the lockup?
I would see Lindsay Clancy in lockup because the nature of presentation in this court has been gut-wrenching for anyone who would be exposed to such horrific
Objection and move to strike. It's not responsive to the question.
All right, can I see counsel again?
I'll withdraw it. Let me
All right, so that answer, ladies and gentlemen, that answer is strike. Okay?
In Duxbury Hospital, have you had to see her to evaluate her in addition to your testimony for a juror?
Yes.
Why?
Because the nature of mental health is something that's not a static or what we consider historical piece of information. Static information means a date of birth. That's never going to change. Dynamic issues are things that are subject to change, like the weather, like your health, like your mood. So to do an evaluation for a case that Ms. Clancy is involved in, which is a triple homicide case, requires an examiner to ensure that she's competent to stand trial and that her mental health is stable enough to be able to go forward with court proceedings.
Is there an additional component, and has there been an additional component of her suicidal ideation since she's been in custody at Brigham and Women's and then, of course, transferred years ago to Duxbury?
Objection. Approach. Please.
Can I see counsel?
I mean, I guess that's pretty dope that you get to call your friend to be a witness and your friend goes sees your client and your client has all this police presence outside of her room and I'm assuming that she does not have a phone in her room and she's not allowed any visitors, but her doctor, who is a doctor, her psychiatrist or psychologist, comes to come see her, and he say, "Here go my phone." I mean, that seemed like a violation right there. Like nah. Like, where's his ethics and his? That seemed like a. I don't know. Okay, I'm so glad we had a break from this case for 2 days. My head hurt. I'm gonna have to take some Tylenol, some Advil.
Visiting with her here, her present state of mind is always an interest to you, is that correct?
Yes.
And in addition to all of the police reports, grand jury minutes, photographs, and things that you've described for us, sir, have you also had occasion to review all of the medical records without going through every one of them, dealing with Jennifer Tufts, Gelada, drugs that were prescribed to her, et cetera?
Yes.
Were you able to take a family history and a school history from Lindsay?
Yes.
Were you able to take a medical history from Lindsay?
Yes.
Were you concerned about her status as a woman who had recently had a child, Callan, in the spring of 2022?
Yes.
And what time frame was it that you were focusing on for purposes of your evaluation as to her mental state after having Callan, when she was postpartum?
The time frame started in roughly September 2022 through January 2023.
And during that period of time, you were aware that she had certain symptomology. Again, we could go through every single one of them, or we can just say, yes, she did express that she had symptomology. Jury's heard the evidence up to this point.
Yes, many times,
And
to
did she see
other
doctors?
people.
Did she see doctors?
Yes.
Dr. Tufts?
Yes.
Was that the first time that she was expressing anxiety and her concerns about insomnia, and that she went to see Dr. Tufts and she was prescribed the SSRI?
Yes.
Okay. July, June, August of 2022. What was her mood at that point?
Her mood was waxing and waning at times, but struggling as well in common sense ways. Having 3 children, ages 5 and under, not an easy task.
So in the fall of 2022, when she went to see Dr. Tufts, that's when she was prescribed the first SSRI.
Zoloft, yes.
And that would, and again, when she had the second baby, that would be Dawson.
Yes.
Did she have also indicia, symptomology of anxiety and the symptoms that she had described that she required that she had to be placed on some medication?
Yes, she did.
What was that medication?
I believe that was trazodone, if I'm not mistaken.
When she was in nursing school prior to that, was she placed on medication?
Yes, she was.
And that was because of public speaking nerves? What was the medication?
There were multiple medications. I believe it was propranolol, and I believe it may have been trazodone and Wellbutrin, but I'm not totally positive of that.
Do you recall that she was prescribed an SSRI when she was in nursing school?
Yes.
What was that?
That was Zoloft.
When she saw Dr. Tufts and she took the Zoloft, it was 25 milligrams initially, is that correct?
Yes.
Was it increased?
It was increased to 50 milligrams sometime later.
And how did she react to that?
She didn't take the medication initially. She waited a few weeks until she started on the lower dose.
So my question was, how did she react to the increase in the Zoloft?
Poorly.
What does that mean?
It was not a therapeutic uplift for her. She didn't do well. She didn't feel better. By all reports from Ms. Clancy, she did not get better.
How about sleeping? Did she have any complaints about sleeping?
Yes.
What was that?
Her insomnia got worse with the passage of time.
As September turned into October, it turns into November, around the time of Thanksgiving. Had she continued to seek help from medical health care providers?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
Who did she seek to get help from?
Well, the initial person, I believe, was her mother-in-law, Sue Clancy, and who was a labor and delivery nurse who knew people.
Who did she see as a result of Sue Clancy?
I believe it was Julie Paul initially.
And what group was she affiliated with?
South Shore Perinatal Health.
Did Ms. Paul, nurse practitioner Paul, prescribe medication for her?
Yes.
And did she continue to deal with South Shore Perinatal?
Yes.
At some point, did she stop dealing shortly, a short period of time, with nurse practitioner Paul?
Yes, Nurse Paul left.
And why was that?
She got a transferred position. It had nothing to do with her patient load or...
So she was transferred?
She was transferred,
Okay.
yes.
So as a short period of time, she was transferred. Who was the next person that she dealt with?
Rebecca Gelada.
Did Rebecca Gelada have a particular position? Was she a nurse practitioner?
Yes.
And how long did she deal with Rebecca Gelada?
3 appointments.
And during that period of time with Rebecca Gelada, was she prescribed medication?
Yes.
What was the medication?
I believe it was Seroquel.
How did she react to that?
Poorly.
And as time went by, going into the holiday season, Thanksgiving, do you recall what her symptomology and complaints were to the healthcare providers at that point, whether it be Tufts or Gelada, anybody?
Yes.
What were they?
She had many concerns about her health. She wasn't feeling well. She felt out of touch with herself. She felt numb. She experienced disassociation.
All right, stop right there. What is disassociation?
Disassociation is a psychological construct that means you feel removed from your body. You don't feel in touch with your body. You feel different than the way you normally do. You look back at your life and you say, something is wrong with me. I'm not feeling the way I normally do.
Did she express, for example, when the jurors looked at the medical records on November 27th of 2022 to nurse practitioner Gelada, that she felt that she was out of her body and that she had a disassociated state?
Yes, and that's sometimes known as a depersonalization. You feel removed from your body. You feel removed. You feel as if you are not in your full body.
Now, at that time, was she also complaining of other symptoms? And to cut to the chase, was she saying that she could not emote, she couldn't feel love, she couldn't feel happiness, she felt heavy,
Yeah.
she couldn't walk, she couldn't bathe, she had difficulty relating to people? Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. She couldn't get out of the bed. She had total flattened affect.
Did she then seek additional help?
Yes.
Where?
She went to the, I believe, the emergency room initially at South Shore to go to Mass General.
And did they prescribe additional medication for her?
I believe they did, yes.
Did she make any expressions to her treating physicians up to this point about what in her opinion, what the medications were doing to her?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said she was in a brain fog. The medications were making things worse. They were not helping. They were not helping her.
Now, as that time went on into the period of Thanksgiving up to around Christmas, did she continue to reach out to people for help, such as suicide hotlines?
Yes, she reached out to...
The answer is yes.
Yes.
Why did she call a suicide hotline?
She was worried about killing herself.
And did she get any help from the suicide hotline?
She was turned away.
How about the second time she called the suicide hotline?
She was turned away.
How about when she went to the Women and Infants program in Rhode Island?
They told her she was not a good fit for the program.
Why?
Because she was overly medicated.
And did she continue to seek help from healthcare providers?
Yes.
And what was the next thing that happened as far as dealing with healthcare providers for Lindsay in her postpartum stage?
She went to the Mass General emergency room.
What happened there?
On 12:30, she said she needed to go to the hospital. She left the emergency room. She was sent to McLean Hospital in Belmont. It's a Harvard-affiliated hospital.
Now, that McLean Hospital, when you say was sent to, fair to say that even though they had to transport her, it was a voluntary commitment?
Yes.
And what was her state of mind that caused her to have a voluntary commitment to the locked wards of McLean Hospital?
She was worried about killing herself, and she uttered concerns about killing her children.
How about, did she relate any intrusive thoughts and dark thoughts, things of that nature during this period of time, October, November, December?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
She said she had, quote, horrible thoughts, unquote. She felt that people could actually hear her thoughts. The thoughts were so loud that strangers could hear them.
Did she express at that point, for example, that she was concerned about school teachers with the Little Sprouts school with the kids, that they could read her thoughts and that she would lose custody?
Yes, it's called ideas of reference. You believe other people can hear what you're thinking, and that can have a very negative interpretation for the person believing that, feeling that, and thinking that the outcome is going to be a negative one, that their children may be relieved from their care.
Now, as it relates to the concept of a psychosis, can you tell me in 25 words or less what a psychosis is?
A psychosis is what's considered a major mental health disorder. It's when people have disorganized thinking, and the symptoms most typically are hallucinations. There are different types of hallucinations. 80% of people with psychoses hear voices. There are different types of voices that one can hear. Benign, get a glass of water. Benevolent, you're a good person, keep it up. Or malevolent, threatening them, telling them, ordering them to do something horrible, and you believe those voices.
During that period of time, when she got out of the McLean Hospital, what medication was she taking or getting off of?
I believe she's getting off the Seroquel.
Was she able to do that?
Yes.
Relating back to November 27th with the disassociative state, is that an indicia, is that an indication or a harbinger of psychosis?
Yes.
And is a psychosis, is that something that somebody would be suffering from a psychosis for a month at a time, 2 months at a time, or is that short periods, or how does that work?
People with psychoses have intermittent symptoms. They can function fine one day, and the next day they can be hearing voices, they could be seeing things, feeling things, smelling things. To be clear, those additional types of hallucinations did not plague Ms. Clancy. She only had auditory hallucinations, but hallucinations are like the waves at the beach. They come and go.
They're called waxing and waning?
Yes.
And would you tell me, doctor, in your opinion, is an individual, and we refer to postpartum psychosis, is that a particular affliction that afflicts women that have had babies and they go through a period of postpartum depression and then ultimately postpartum psychosis?
Yes.
Can you tell us, is a person, even if they are in the throes of psychosis, are they able to make a phone call?
Yes, they can.
Are they able to drive a car?
Yes.
Are they able to say, hi, how are you? I'd like to have a hot dog?
Yes.
They don't have to look at the unicorn in the corner, right?
That's correct.
Mr. Rigg, it's 4 o'clock. Just a good time to.
Sure.
All right. So, members of the jury, we're going to recess until tomorrow morning. I would expect our schedule tomorrow will be similar.
Oh, so they ended today. Oh, they ended this day. Oh, wow. Interesting. Oh, okay. So they didn't finish his testimony. Okay. Okay. They didn't finish his testimony. I wasn't expecting that. Okay. Well, let me see about getting today's up. Oh, okay. It looked like court ended for the day. But I'm gonna get it up for us.
Particular
Wait a minute.
would not.
Yeah, we'll stay in here for about another 40 minutes. Then we have to get over to our start our Tupac trial today. Let me see.
Good morning, members of the jury. Nice to see all of you.
She look a lot happier today. Just my personal opinion. She's smiling.
I appreciate you being here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go over the questions that you know are coming, and then what we'll do is we'll get right back into the case. So the first question, is any member of the jury read, seen, heard, or overheard?
I'm going to try to just redirect towards the interview that you had of Lindsay regarding her journey. On November 29th of 2022, do you recall which healthcare provider she visited?
I believe that Ms. Clancy saw Ms. Gelada for treatment.
That'd be nurse practitioner Gelada?
Yes.
Do you know what she complained on November 29th that her symptoms were?
She was having issues with unstable mood, depression, and psychotic symptoms of disassociation.
Did she also, on that date, November 29th of 22, complain that she had what is referred to as a flattened affect?
Yes, and that was also paired with derealization.
And what does that mean?
That an individual experiencing derealization doesn't feel things are real when they look around. They don't think that what they're seeing is in the reality that they're in.
Now, at this time, towards the end of November into early December of 22, she was living in Duxbury, is that correct?
That's correct.
And she's living with her husband and her 3 children, 3 young children, correct?
Yes.
And was the husband working?
Yes.
Where was he working?
Pardon me, Attorney Redding?
Where was he working?
He was working for Microsoft, but in a home office that was in the basement of the house.
And she's obviously taking care of Callan the infant and Dawson and, Cora.
Yes.
Right? And the kids were in school a couple of days a week in the preschool, the Little Sprouts or something like that, right?
Yes.
So did she improve at that point, sir, or did she end up going to South Shore Perinatal Clinic on December 2nd?
She did not improve. She was getting worse. She did go to the South Shore Perinatal Clinic.
And would that be on December 2nd?
December 2nd, yes.
And what was the reason, what were her complaints that brought her to South Shore Perinatal Clinic on December 2nd?
She felt that her brain was damaged. She felt that she should kill herself. And she's never going to get any better.
Did she also express fear that people could hear her thoughts and that anything adverse would happen in her life regarding being a mother and having children?
Yes, that's called thought broadcasting.
And what was her concern about the children?
Her concern was that when people could hear her thoughts, her children would be removed from her care.
Now, and keep your voice up, please.
Yes.
Did she indicate, and I quote, that she had bad and intrusive thoughts, that she didn't even feel that they were like mine, telling me I should kill myself, my brain is damaged, you're never going to get better?
Yes.
And did that type of intrusive thought or persecutory thought continue for a period of time?
Yes. So it got worse.
It gets so bad that she ended up doing something.
Yes, that's correct.
What did she do?
She called the suicide hotline.
And do you know when that was, sir?
That was December 4th, 2022.
Did she receive any help from the suicide hotline?
She did not.
Why is that?
They told her she did not meet the standard of care because she did not have a plan.
Did she call the suicide hotline again, if you're aware?
Yes, she did.
Do you know when that was? Was that in December?
Yes, I believe that was perhaps the following week around the 15th, but I'm not positive about that.
Did she receive help on the second call that she called the suicide hotline?
No, she did not.
Can you tell us at this point now, we're talking about in December, let's say towards December 15th or thereabouts, what were her symptoms at that time regarding any complaints or observations that she had about paranoia or things of that nature?
Yes. She was having paranoid symptoms of psychoses, and she was getting more depressed.
Did she make any comments about DCF or the police at that point?
Yes.
Now, to your knowledge, did she ever have any involvement in her entire life with the police?
Never.
And did she express that she was in fear or concerned about DCF and or the police in the middle of December 22?
Very much so.
What did she say?
She was worried that her children would be removed from her and that she would never see them again.
Now, at this point, what medication was she on? First paragraph, page 9.
She started to take, at that point, Seroquel, Remeron, and Klonopin.
Did she make any complaints at that point about the effect, if any, of medications?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said she felt like a zombie.
Did she present with any particular medical observation that you refer to?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Well, paragraph 1 on page 9, you indicate she presented with anhedonia.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Anhedonia is a word that means without pleasure. When someone has anhedonia, they cannot enjoy life, they don't laugh, they have no pleasure.
Continuing on into December, what was her status of her condition of depression and symptoms of paranoia and intrusive thoughts, et cetera, that we've talked about?
It continued unabated.
On December 15th of 22, right before the holidays, did she go somewhere?
Yes, she did.
Where'd she go?
She went to the clinic in Rhode Island, Parents and Women's Clinic, partial day hospitalization program.
And she didn't get any help there either, right?
That's correct.
Did she go at some point around that same time frame to Mass General Hospital?
Yes, she did.
Now, you knew that she worked at Mass General Hospital for 9 years, right?
That's correct, and labor and delivery.
She wasn't there visiting friends, right?
That's correct.
Why was she there?
She was there in the emergency room to seek help.
Did she get help on that day?
She did not.
So after going to the MGH ER at some point in December 30th, what did she do?
She went back to the emergency room at Mass General.
Now, for example, on December 15th, did Pat Clancy, her husband, get involved with her medical treatment?
Yes.
And do the medical records indicate that he did something with her?
Yes, he brought her to the partial hospitalization program in Rhode Island.
Did he also bring her to the Mass General Hospital ER?
Yes, he did.
Did he also bring her to see the doctor or the nurse practitioner, Gelater, and complain about the medication?
Yes.
So December 30th, or 31st of 2022, she was admitted voluntarily to McLean, right?
That's correct, yes.
How long was she there for?
She was there till the 5th. She was discharged January 5th, 2023.
Was that a voluntary discharge? They cleared her as well to be discharged?
Yes.
That was not what is referred to as AMA, or against medical advice, right?
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, that's not AMA. It's not against medical advice. She was following hospital guidelines. She was discharged accordingly.
And she wanted to go to her daughter's some function?
She wanted to go to her daughter Cora's birthday party, which was held on the 7th of January.
Now, at this point, what was her status? Was she weaned off of medication, or on her way to being weaned off of medication when she got out of McLean?
I believe so, yes. She was being tapered down on her medication.
And what was the medication that she was tapered down on?
I believe it was Seroquel and Klonopin.
Did her intrusive thoughts and the paranoia, did that abate? Did that stop?
It did not.
Now, when she was home in the month of January after Cora's birthday, which I think was on January 7th, did she continue to have these intensive intrusive thoughts?
Yes.
Can you tell us, when we say intrusive thoughts, is she referring to intrusive thoughts like you might think of something coming up next week that's bothersome, or is this a indication, in your opinion, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty as to what she was experiencing at that point in January of 2023?
She wasn't just having everyday thoughts that we all have, reminding ourselves to do something, which we make note of, and then we move on. Intrusive thoughts are unrelenting. They don't stop. They're what we call ego dystonic. You don't want them. They keep interfering with your ability to get through the day.
Did she have, at this point, intrusive thoughts continuing regarding voices in her head that she heard constantly?
Yes.
What were these voices saying to her?
They were getting worse, and they were telling her to kill herself.
And as January continued, she was, to your knowledge, using her computer to look up drugs and interactions and side effects and things of that nature?
Yes.
If a person is in a psychosis, or as I think you said premorbidly, psychosis, are they able to do things like look up things on a computer?
Yes.
And you're aware that she actually at one point looked up, can you cure, I think a sociopath or a psychopath or something like that?
It was sociopath, yes.
Is that indicative of her feeling that she is a homicidal maniac and has to have some help, or is that in the same time frame that she was Googling all of the effects of medications on a human being?
Is it an objection?
Yes.
That's sustained.
So during the period that she was Googling, well, let me ask you, what was she Googling?
Googling words about sociopath, sociopathy. Can you treat a sociopath? What are hallucinations?
What else?
Bear with me one moment, if you don't mind.
Well, you had a chance. Did you look at the Google searches that she had done that's in evidence and the jurors were able to look at it?
Yes.
Did she continue to Google the effects of medication, psychosis, numbness, heaviness, unable to, things like that?
Yes. All things that are related to the way
And if
she
a
was
person
feeling.
is in a psychotic state, are they able to continue to Google and use a computer to look things up?
Yes.
They're able to use a phone?
Yes. People who are in that state can do things that they've done before. New tasks may be difficult, like changing a tire, but if you looked up things on the internet, you can look them up again. If you drove a car, you can drive a car.
Now, the morning of January 24th, I believe, she went somewhere. Is that right?
Yes.
Where'd she go?
She's taken her daughter to a pediatrician, a standing pediatrician appointment.
And is it your understanding, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, that a person who's in a psychotic state is able to drive a car for a short distance, go to an appointment, and interact and talk to people?
Yes, they can do everyday tasks of living.
So the fact that she's not talking about the unicorns in the corner, and she's not slurring her speech, and she's not unable to walk, to your opinion, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, does that mean that she's not in a psychotic state?
It does not.
Would you tell us, after she took Cora to the doctors, and the jurors have had a chance to look at the exhibits, there's photographs between her and her husband, Pat, back and forth. In the afternoon, what did she do?
She built a snowman in the backyard with two of her kids.
Later in that day, Google directions to a restaurant, 3B restaurant, I believe.
Yes.
Is that something that a person can do when they're in that type of a state?
Easily.
Did the voices or the intrusive thoughts to your interview and your understanding abate or stop at that point on January 24th?
No.
Did they continue?
Yes.
And did she communicate by text with her husband about getting dinner and getting something from CVS?
Yes.
And what was it? Was it Pedialax?
Pedialac or Flexlax. It's a stool softener for her child.
And that's something that was prescribed by the doctor, right?
Yes.
Does that make sense, that if somebody is in a state where they're having these symptoms, that they're able to remember that the doctor wanted the child to have Pedialax and she tells her husband to get Pedialax?
Yes, it does not interfere with that type of everyday living.
She indicated to you, sir, that that evening after the husband had, oh, by the way, was it your understanding from talking to her that the husband had taken trips, gone away for weekends, gone on ski trips, had brunches with his friends, and was out of the house on a regular basis?
Yes.
That night is when the children were killed. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we've heard repeatedly about the circumstances of the going out the window and the weather and the damages and the injuries and going to the hospital. Doctor, based on your review of all of the medical records, did you administer any testing, by the way, to her? Like you were talking about psychological testing?
Yes.
And what were the psychological tests that you performed?
Initially, I did a mini mental status exam, MMSE. It's just a common test about orientation.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. NSE? What is that?
MMSE, mini mental status examination. Very common test.
Okay.
Demonstrating whether someone has a field of knowledge, who's the president, what direction should travel, and basic things like where are you, what day is today, who are you? And then I did another test as well.
What other test was that, sir?
That's the HARE Psychopathy Checklist, HARE.
What does that do?
That's a measure of antisocial personality disorder.
And do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty based upon the scale that you used to assess whether or not Lindsay Clancy had anti-personality disorder?
Yes.
What was the result?
The result is that she does not have any type of antisocial personality disorder, also known as sociopathy.
In addition to reviewing the medical records and testing and meeting with her, did you also interview third parties?
Yes.
Is that referred to in the psychology as collateral contacts?
Yes.
And you reviewed and interviewed a number of people in her family or friends or people in her social circle, is that correct?
Yes.
Can you tell the jurors, sir, to a reasonable degree? Well, let me ask you this. Are you familiar with Mass General Hospital doing a major research program on postpartum psychosis?
Yes.
And did they publish an article, a significant article, regarding the circumstances, symptomology, and things of that nature of postpartum psychosis?
Yes.
And would you agree, sir, that the symptoms of postpartum psychosis would be depression? Is that one?
Yes.
Did Lindsay, to your opinion, have depression?
Yes.
And were there indications from your review of the medical records that she felt low, flat, tearful, emotional, crying?
All of those things, yes.
Did she also express anxiety, feeling tense, nervousness?
All of those things, yes.
Did she also express feelings that she was withdrawn, not able to socialize with people, wanting to talk or be near others?
All of those things as well, yes.
Did she indicate that she felt tired, heavy, without energy?
Absolutely, yes.
Did she indicate that she was having a harder time taking care of her children?
Yes.
Did she indicate that she was having issues regarding personal hygiene, not bathing, things of that nature?
Yes.
Did she indicate that she had severe confusion in actually hearing or seeing things that aren't there? In her case, it would not be seeing, that would be visual hallucinations. But did she complain of hearing things that weren't there, hallucinations?
Yes.
Did she complain of thoughts and beliefs that were not within reality and that she was in a disassociated state, out of reality?
Yes.
did she indicate that, did you observe that there were circumstances where she exhibited increased energy, activity, productivity, otherwise known as hypomania?
Yes.
Did she complain that she had racing thoughts, a, quote, busy brain, end quote, increased creativity?
Yes.
And when she said in your review of the medical records that she was having a busy brain, did she express the fact that she would get confused and that she thought her brain was damaged?
Yes, that's correct.
Was she restless and agitated, unable to keep still?
Yes.
Unable to sleep?
Yes, extremely unable to sleep.
So can you tell this jury, sir, in your opinion, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty based upon all of what you have reviewed, all of what we have talked about, all of what you have considered, as to whether or not at the time of this incident resulting in the killing of these 3 little kids that she was suffering from a mental disease or a defect, such as that she lost substantial capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness of her act, or, in the disjunctive, was unable to conform her conduct to the requirements of the law?
Yes.
Tell the jury what your opinion is, please.
My opinion is that she did have indeed a mental disease or a defect. That's a legal construct, not a DSM-5 one, but she had bipolar disorder with postpartum psychoses. In addition, she was unable to conform her behaviors to the rule of law, and she had no appreciation for the wrongfulness of her act.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, Kamal.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So yesterday, when you first took the stand, Attorney Reddington asked you a little bit about your background. Recall that?
Yes.
And you, in this field of being a psychologist and a forensic psychologist, you circulate a curriculum vitae where all that is outlined, right?
Yes.
And fair to say, you testified yesterday, and on your curriculum vitae, you speak briefly about the fact that you have previously testified for the Commonwealth, you said, as well as for the defense, correct?
Yes.
You referred to defendants and respondents, right?
Yes.
And so one of the things that you've done in the past is to be what's called a qualified examiner, right?
Yes.
You are currently not actively doing those examinations, are you?
I actually have done one, but I don't actively do that anymore.
Okay. And so in those respects, is that when you say you testify for the Commonwealth, is that primarily the work that you would do where you say you testify for the Commonwealth?
Yes.
And in those evaluations that you do, is it fair to say that you're actually an independent contractor with a company that contracts with the Department of Correction on those cases?
Those are what qualified examiners are. That's correct. That's how you become a qualified examiner through the DOC.
Right. And you're an examiner, a qualified examiner, is retained or takes work in doing evaluations in order to perform independent assessments, are they not?
Yes.
So they're not hired by the Commonwealth.
They are, because the company that retains the qualified examiners is hired by the Commonwealth, and these forensic psychologists are then appointed cases to do these types of examinations. So it's under the big umbrella of the Commonwealth.
So yeah, big umbrella Commonwealth, meaning Department of Correction, an agency that is under the seal of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. But as far as when we talk about Commonwealth, like Commonwealth versus Lindsay Clancy, that's the prosecution. In those proceedings, the Department of Correction sometimes is the moving party, right?
Yes.
And sometimes it's the district attorney's office who's the moving party.
Yes.
But it's never the defendant who's the moving party.
Never.
And in those types of proceedings, sometimes if you opine a person is what they call sexually dangerous, you would testify for the Commonwealth, right?
Yes.
And if they're not, or if you find they're not sexually dangerous, you'd testify for the respondent.
Yes, we're neutral.
So you're not testifying for the Commonwealth. As in the prosecution, you're testifying under the big umbrella of the Commonwealth.
I think it's a matter of semantics, because if you do an evaluation and you render an opinion that this patient is sexually dangerous, when you testify, you are working with the district attorney's office and you review your case with the DA. And the way I see it is that you're testifying for the Commonwealth as an independent examiner, but on that day, you're testifying for the Commonwealth or that DA's office.
And you haven't done that work in closely a decade, fair to say?
No, that's not true.
Well, pre-pandemic, correct?
That's not true.
So when was the last time you testified for the Commonwealth, meaning the prosecution, in an SDP proceeding?
So I was assigned a case through Suffolk County, the Sexual Dangerousness Unit, by ADA, Kelly Ryan, Kelly, and I did that evaluation on July 2nd, 2026.
And have you testified at a probable cause hearing for that?
No, I wrote a report which was in lieu of testifying.
Where you opined that somebody was sexually dangerous?
Yes.
Okay. Fair to say, though, the majority of your work here in Massachusetts over the last few years is contracted with the Committee for Public Counsel Services, correct?
Yes.
And for the fiscal year of 2024, you were paid by CPCS in the open checkbook for approximately $340,000 worth of time and work.
That's about right. We get paid a fixed rate. It's a government rate that's assigned to all examiners.
And for the fiscal year of 2025, it was approximately $300,000 that you were paid through the Committee of Public Counsel Services.
That sounds about right.
You also indicated yesterday that you have known Attorney Reddington for a number of years, correct?
Yes.
Fair to say you've done quite a bit of work with him over the years?
That's an expansive term, but I
It
work
just
with
requires
him.
a yes or a no.
Yes.
And you've also testified that you have your doctorate in clinical psychology, right?
Yes.
And you testified yesterday, or you told us a lot about your military experience, but as you sit here today, you are not a prescriber of medications here in the Commonwealth, are you?
I am not.
You
And
don't have
I was not yesterday either when I was asked about that.
Right. You told us all about your experience in the military and having that limited ability to prescribe years ago. But as far as you sit here today and in your evaluations that you do today, you don't do forensic psychiatry evaluations, do you?
That's correct, but I just want to clarify for a point of accuracy. I was not in the military. I worked for the Department of State.
I believe I said your work with the military, but thank you. So here in Massachusetts, you conduct primarily you conduct evaluations in forensic psychology, correct?
Yes, for the most part.
And you are aware that there are particular standards for forensic psychologists working within the criminal justice system, right?
Yes, but just to be a little more clear, forensic psychologists such as myself also work for police departments doing evaluations for fitness for duty. So although they are law enforcement, they're not engaged or accused of any criminal activity.
Well, I'm referring to your role when you come into the court and you testify, as you are today, as a forensic psychologist. That's what I'm referring to. You're aware that there are particular standards in place by the ABA criminal justice, mental health standards is one of them, right? You're familiar with that?
Yes.
And you're familiar with the American Psychological Association specialty guidelines for forensic psychology?
Yes.
And fair to say that with those standards, they're not required, but people are encouraged to follow them, right?
I think that's fair to say.
And the criminal justice, the ABA criminal justice mental health standards actually identify the different types of roles that forensic evaluators have in the criminal justice system, including evaluating, consulting, and treating, right?
Yes.
And so fair to say standard 7-1.3 indicates that for evaluative experts, the obligation is to make a thorough and impartial assessment based on sound evaluative methods to reach an objective opinion. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And so, again, in the American Psychological Association specialty guidelines, section 1.02 indicates that forensic practitioners strive to be unbiased and impartial and avoid partisan presentations of unrepresentative, incomplete, or inaccurate evidence. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Is that a standard you strive to follow?
Yes.
Okay. In this case, you indicated that you've been with the case since February 4th of the year 2023, correct?
Yes, 41 months.
And you've authored a report, you said, in June, I believe, of 2026, correct?
Yes.
But you've also offered other reports or updates of the defendant's condition over the years. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And you provided a report, an update, I should say, in July of 2025.
Yes.
Do you recall that? And in that report, you identify that as of July 23rd, 2025, that the defendant was residing at Duxbury Hospital. Do you recall that? Putting
Yes.
that in?
Yes.
And that there was a planned transfer to Worcester Recovery Hospital, or Worcester Recovery Center and Hospital. Do you recall writing that?
I don't know if it was a plan. It was a hope and a goal, but it was not an official plan.
Well, I can provide you with your report if you'd like to review, but it reads, currently, Ms. Clancy resides at Duxbury Hospital with a planned transfer to Worcester Recovery Center and Hospital.
That sounds right. Yes.
Okay. And that she is presently medication stabilized and is in the process of discontinuing most, if not all, psychotropic medications, demonstrating an emerging capacity to stabilize without them. Do you recall writing that?
Yes.
So in July of 2025, it was your opinion that she was stable and she would be, hopefully, as you say, transferred to a different facility, correct?
Yes.
And you're aware that currently she's still at Duxbury Hospital?
Yes.
And currently she's still taking psychotropic medications?
That's true. Yes.
I think you also write in that report, I'll strike that. Going back to your most recent evaluation in June of 2026, you would agree with me that in an evaluation for criminal responsibility, being a forensic psychologist, it's really important to be as accurate as possible in your reports, correct?
Yes.
You want to make sure you get the facts right, right?
Yes.
Because your evaluation is not just based on what you learn from the individual you're evaluating, but also an independent review, an unbiased review of the records of the facts. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. So in your report, you indicate that the period of evaluation that you had with this individual is approximately 45 hours. Do you recall writing that and testifying about that yesterday?
I think I actually said I've met with her a total of 45 hours, but the evaluation was more than 35 hours, and I think it was 37 hours.
Okay. And you also said yesterday that in addition to that, you've met with her several other times for a total of approximately 60 times at least.
Not 60 additional times, but in total, yes, since the court trial has started a few weeks back.
Okay. Is that typical for you to spend 35 hours with the person that you're evaluating?
It does happen, but it's not typical.
You also indicated yesterday that one of how you became involved in this case is Attorney Reddington called you and asked you to go check on the, I think you said mental well-being. Is that what your
mental health and mental well-being at the time of her admittance to Brigham and Women's Hospital, which was roughly late January 2023.
And your first time there was February 4th, correct?
Yes.
Were you examining her as a potential patient at that point?
I was examining her as a colleague and friend of Attorney Reddington to see how she was faring. There was no predetermined notion whether I would be interested or willing or even offered the opportunity to take the case. I was just going to meet with her, given the fact that she was in a bed in ICU, locked to the bed frame, and no one was able to visit her.
So you went in to visit her?
Yes.
And when you went in to visit her, you indicated that she had recently been extubated in your testimony yesterday. You're aware from the review of the records that she was extubated on January 28th.
Yes. So the difference between January 28th and February 4th, I didn't know the date at that time, but I knew she was able to breathe on her own and express verbal language, yes, expressive language.
You're aware that she had been communicating with staff at the hospital, including psychiatrists, right?
I don't know if I knew at that time, but I knew she had been speaking with the doctors and staff.
Well,
but not specifically who it was.
A person who goes through major trauma and is at a hospital and has made suicidal attempts, in your opinion, it would behoove the hospital to have that person talk to a psychiatrist, correct?
Yes. Overruled.
Yes.
Now, in addition to meeting with the staff and the psychiatry team, prior to your arrival, were you aware that she had an attorney that had came to visit her a few times? Not Mr. Reddington, but a different attorney.
Yes, I don't know how many times, but I am aware that there was an attorney, Gelb, who was somehow involved in the case.
Okay, so there was somebody that came in to see her prior to you coming in to see her.
Yes.
Now, you testified yesterday that you performed a mental status exam that day on February 4th. Do you recall that?
I do.
Where in your report or the previous report from July or your June report do you outline the results of your mental status exam?
There is none, because if someone's not capable of just explaining who they are, where they are, and if they're clear of mentation and thinking, then I'll meet with them. But if they're not, I won't. So it's a sine qua non. You do that just to make sure you can keep meeting with them and that they are able to understand what you're talking about. Standard practice.
But you indicated yesterday that she did know who she was, right?
Yes.
She didn't know where she was.
Yes.
But I believe your testimony was that she did remember what happened, but she was foggy as to what happened.
Yes, that's correct.
And she actually, according to your testimony yesterday, asked you for your phone or to access your phone to make a phone call. Is that correct?
Yes.
So she was able to communicate with you.
Yes.
She asked you for something and you clearly understood what she was asking for.
Yes.
And you indicated that she asked to call her husband, right?
Yes.
Had you spoken with her husband before that time?
I did not speak with him at that time. I didn't know him, and I had not spoken to him prior to that time.
So how'd you get the phone number to call him?
I did not have the phone number to call.
So she provided you with a phone number to dial so that she could call him on speakerphone, right?
Yes.
And she remembered the number?
Yes.
And so you indicated on that day, on February 4th, that she left a voicemail, right?
Yes.
So in that voicemail message, were you able to identify that it was Patrick Clancy's phone? Did it say, hey, this is Pat, leave a message, or something to that effect?
I don't remember the salutation from the voice recording, but there was no evidence that it was not Patrick Clancy.
And as far as her confidence in the number, she gave it to you with no issue, did she not?
That's correct.
She didn't have her own cell phone to refer to, did she?
That's correct.
Or a pad of paper where all the numbers were written down?
She didn't?
You indicated that she left a message. Do you recall what the message was?
She expressed a love for him, wanted to know how he was doing, and that was pretty much it.
And again, you said that you didn't write down what the mental status exam was, but the fact that she was able to relay that message, was it clear and coherent, what she was saying?
Yes, mental status exams are multiple levels. Different things are asked. If you don't know where you are, it doesn't mean you can't have a conversation with someone.
And she was able to have a conversation with you that day?
Yes.
Now, you said you went back on February 6th and met with her again, correct?
Yes.
And you guys made another attempt at calling Patrick.
Yes.
Again, did you remember the number?
No.
Did you have it stored in your phone?
No.
Did she provide you his phone number to call?
Well, it was in my phone. I could just look it up on my phone. I didn't write it down. I didn't enter his name. Either she gave it to me again, or I just looked it up from 2 days prior.
But you don't recall, as you say here today, which it was, do you?
No.
And you didn't write a report about that interaction, did you?
I did not.
So in the second phone call, you were able to actually hear that she was talking with Patrick on the other end, right?
Yes.
And at that time, when you were now second time meeting with her and having this phone call, were you aware that she had already changed her healthcare proxy from Patrick to her parents?
I did not know that.
Did you talk to Patrick in between the 4th and the 6th to find out if he had tried to come in to visit her?
I didn't speak to him at all, so I knew nothing about what his plans or intentions were.
Your testimony yesterday was that she had called him to tell him that she loved him and to see where they were at, right?
Yes.
That was your testimony? Meaning what, their relationship?
That I made no interpretation of what that meant. She left the message, and we left it at that.
But in that subsequent conversation that you were a witness to where they were speaking on the phone and she told them about these voices or explained about the voices, did she ask about the kids?
She did not, as I recall.
Now, in all of the times over the course of the last few years that you've met with Ms. Clancy, how many times has she told you since the incident that she's heard a voice, currently?
She has not heard voices since the event took place in 2023.
And you've now testified that over the course of a period of time that she did hear voices, right?
Yes.
And is that based on one of these 35 hours worth of conversations you had with her? How do you know that?
Well, they were collateral contacts. I spoke to other people who I asked the nature of their interactions with Ms. Clancy, and it was not a fishing expedition. I asked them if they can tell me what happened.
Well, I'm asking
but they
you...
disclosed, pardon me?
You have to let them finish.
So they disclosed information to me that Ms. Clancy shared that information with them.
So who did she tell that she had a voice that told her to kill herself?
She spoke to a chaplain named Sheila Kavanaugh, who I spoke with, and Chaplain Kavanaugh told me that Ms. Clancy told her that she heard a male voice instructing her to first kill her children and then to kill herself.
So the same message that she delivered to Patrick that day on the phone, you heard from a chaplain at Brigham and Women's Hospital after the incident occurred in January of 2023?
Yes.
And so from all of the records that you reviewed of her treatment and all of the interviews with her family, who did she tell that she heard voices telling her to kill herself?
I believe she told family members.
Which family members?
I believe she may have said that to her mother. She, I believe, told her husband that she felt like killing herself as well.
In the records with the providers, you're aware, you've reviewed them all and you've sat through all of their testimony. You're aware that when she described intrusive thoughts, she never referred to them as a voice telling her to kill herself, did they? Did she?
No, she was referring to...
It's just a yes or no?
No.
So as far as her reports of these intrusive thoughts that appear over and over in the notes, you would agree that it was simply, when asked about what they were, it was simply that she felt like she wanted to die, right?
Yes, and...
It's just a yes or no?
Yes.
Now, in your report, you go through what's called the sources of information. You're familiar with that part? It's pretty standard in a forensic report, right?
Yes.
Where you list all of the things that you've gone through and reviewed in compiling the information for your report.
So in my sources of information, I reviewed the following, but that list is not limited to the following. So there might be other pieces of information that I may have reviewed but didn't put in the list.
Okay, so not on the list are the Duxbury Hospital records that you said you reviewed recently, correct?
Yes, the 7,000 pages of those hospital notes. I didn't review all of them at the time of the report.
Did you review records from the Spalding Rehab Facility?
Yes.
That's not contained, though, in your list, in your report, is it?
I don't think it is.
And you don't cite to any of the Spalding Rehab records in your report coming to your ultimate conclusions, do you?
I do not.
And how about the women and infant records? Did you list that in your sources of information section?
I do not. She was there for one day.
Okay, but you've testified about that, right?
Yes.
Did you review them at all?
Yes.
And as far as the McLean records, you don't list the McLean records as a source of information in your report, do you?
I did not, but I did review them.
Now, you've described, and you describe in your report, that you believe that Ms. Clancy was hypomanic, right?
Yes.
And I believe you testified to some extent, and you've written in your report that you identify her as euphoric, excessively energetic for 3 months postpartum. Do you remember writing that in your report?
Yes.
That you note that she exercised early, right?
Yes.
But you're aware that she exercised pretty frequently before birth.
Yes.
And while pregnant with Callan.
And while post-pregnancy with her children as well, yes.
So it was part of her routine, fair to say, right?
It's part of everyday living. Things sometimes change when you have a baby, and a few weeks later, if you're still doing the same exercise, it's sometimes a reflection of something other than committed to fitness.
And you identify what you refer to as a marketing scam, being that Beachbody business, right?
Yes.
But you're aware that that's a series of workouts and a line of nutritional shakes and exercise plans that millions of people engage in across the country.
Yes.
So it's not a scam. It's just a way of a lifestyle choice.
If you do something for marketing and you lose all your money and there's no effort to get that back, it's a scam.
Yeah. You've asked them, you can kind of figure out what his definition is. So.
Did she tell you she lost money with the Beachbody?
Yes.
When was that?
It was summer of 2022 after her third child was born.
No, when did she tell you that she lost money?
I don't recall that.
And is it in your report?
It may be, but I'm not sure.
Well, I have it with me, or do you have it up there? Can you look and point to me where she told you, at what point she told you she lost money in this endeavor?
I don't know where it is. If it's here, it didn't seem relevant whether she lost money in a scam after her child was born,
well,
in terms of the big picture of what we're here for today.
You've described it as a scam because you said she lost money. So wouldn't it be important to know if she actually lost money?
I don't really think so.
Okay. You also identify the 5-mile race that she completed. Was it a 5-mile race or a 5K race?
Well, I wasn't sure which it was. I was told initially it was a 5-mile race. After my report was submitted, it may have been, with reflection, a 5K race.
And you've sat in the courtroom each and every day.
Let me see how much more they have in a cross. Because I do want to see. I may have to come back. Okay. Yeah, she was getting to some, I think, some good parts. Okay, so let me check this. I'm gonna check on the Tupac thing because y'all know we got our Tupac trial that's gonna be starting, and that was getting busy yesterday. And I don't wanna. I wanna be live. I wanna catch one of these trials all the way through. So let's do this. I am going to keep us paused here. We know we kind of sort of caught up on our stuff, and that way we can get into our Tupac trial. So what will happen here, just so everybody's aware, I'm not sure if you're following the Tupac trial with us or not. We are in day 3 of our Tupac trial. When I end it here, it will take us over and redirect us to our Tupac trial. I know it was getting feisty, isn't it? Oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. They just got me in so many different places today, Billy. I don't even know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. We ain't gonna finish nothing over here taking the trial because we over here in every doggone thing. We gotta finish something up. Okay. So with that being said, let me yeah, and I think our Judge Carly, I think she does pretty much start on time. Okay, well they don't have it started just yet. They don't have the feed up yet. So I'm gonna keep us here. And I'm gonna watch out for the feed. Let me go put a note in the chat over there. In case people are coming in, because you know people gonna be waiting for that part to start. So give me a second. Okay, let me put it back up. So I'll let us stay here. I'll put a note in there letting them know that the live feed has not started. But as soon as the live feed starts, I'll be over there. And we'll get started. Because some people are not following this. A lot of people, I've noticed a lot of people don't like to watch trials that have anything to do with kids, respectively. You know, I respect it. So a lot of people, because it can be very emotional. And so yeah.
Right?
I think that's fair to say.
And the ABA criminal justice mental health standards actually identify the different types of roles that forensic evaluators have in the criminal justice system, including evaluating, consulting, and treating, right?
Yes.
And so, fair to say, Standard 7-1.3 indicates that for evaluative experts, the obligation is to make a thorough and impartial assessment based on sound evaluative methods to reach an objective opinion. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And so, again, in the American Psychological Association Specialty Guidelines, Section 1.02, indicates that forensic practitioners strive to be unbiased and impartial and avoid partisan presentations of unrepresentative, incomplete, or inaccurate evidence. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Is that a standard you strive to follow?
Yes.
Okay. In this case, you indicated that you've been with the case since February 4th of the year 2023, correct?
Yes, 41 months.
And you've authored a report, you said, in June, I believe, of 2026, correct?
Yes.
But you've also offered other reports or updates of the defendant's condition over the years. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And you provided a report, an update, I should say, in July of 2025.
Yes.
Do you recall that? And in that report, you identify that as of July 23rd, 2025, that the defendant was residing at Duxbury Hospital. Do you recall that? Putting
Yes.
that in?
Yes.
And that there was a planned transfer to Worcester Recovery Hospital, or Worcester Recovery Center and Hospital. Do you recall writing that?
I don't know if it was a plan. It was a hope and a goal, but it was not an official plan.
Well, I can provide you with your report if you'd like to review, but it reads, currently, Ms. Clancy resides at Duxbury Hospital with a planned transfer to Worcester Recovery Center and Hospital.
That sounds right. Yes.
Okay. And that she is presently medication stabilized and is in the process of discontinuing most, if not all, psychotropic medications, demonstrating an emerging capacity to stabilize without them. Do you recall writing that?
Yes.
So in July of 2025, it was your opinion that she was stable and she would be, hopefully, as you say, transferred to a different facility, correct?
Yes.
And you're aware that currently she's still at Duxbury Hospital?
Yes.
And currently she's still taking psychotropic medications?
That's true. Yes.
I think you also write in that report, I'll strike that. Going back to your most recent evaluation in June of 2026, you would agree with me that in an evaluation for criminal responsibility, being a forensic psychologist, it's really important to be as accurate as possible in your reports, correct?
Yes.
You want to make sure you get the facts right, right?
Yes.
Because your evaluation is not just based on what you learn from the individual you're evaluating, but also an independent review, an unbiased review of the records of the facts. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. So in your report, you indicate that the period of evaluation that you had with this individual is approximately 45 hours. Do you recall writing that and testifying about that yesterday?
I think I actually said I met with her a total of 45 hours, but the evaluation was more than 35 hours, and I think it was 37 hours.
Okay. And you also said yesterday that in addition to that, you've met with her several other times for a total of approximately 60 times at least?
Not 60 additional times, but in total, yes, since the court trial has started a few weeks back.
Okay. Is that typical for you to spend 35 hours with the person that you're evaluating?
It does happen, but it's not typical.
You also indicated yesterday that one of how you became involved in this case is Attorney Reddington called you and asked you to go check on the, I think you said mental well-being. Is that what your
mental health or mental well-being at the time of her admittance to Brigham and Women's Hospital, which was roughly late January 2023.
And your first time there was February 4th, correct?
Yes.
Were you examining her as a potential patient at that point?
I was examining her as a colleague and friend of Attorney Reddington to see how she was faring. There was no predetermined notion whether I would be interested or willing or even offered the opportunity to take the case. I was just going to meet with her, given the fact that she was in a bed in ICU, locked to the bed frame, and no one was able to visit her.
So you went in to visit her?
Yes.
And when you went in to visit her, you indicated that she had recently been extubated in your testimony yesterday. You're aware from the review of the records that she was extubated on January 28th.
Yes. So the difference between January 28th and February 4th, I didn't know the date at that time, but I knew she was able to breathe on her own and express verbal language, yes, expressive language.
You're aware that she had been communicating with staff at the hospital, including psychiatrists, right?
I don't know if I knew at that time, but I knew.
Dang, I was trying to get through to his testimony. Let me see. How much more he got? Yeah, I don't want to be running behind on a lot of stuff today. Yeah, he got a quite a bit to go. I didn't think he had that much to go, but he got quite a bit to go. Okay, so I am going to, unfortunately, I do need to end this stream so we can get over to our Tupac trial. That stream has started. So once this stream ends, it will drop you off over there in the Tupac. I hope that you will hang out with us during our Tupac trial. We will come over back and get into Lindsay Clancy, but it was kind of nice to have a break from Lindsay for a couple of days. But yeah, we got to get over here to Tupac. Only because I'm going in court for this one, so I need to be in there. So I need to see this live and see what's going on for the most part. All right, guys, I will see you over at the Tupac trial. It will drop you off over there. As you enter the building, can you please put your thumbs up, and we're gonna go over there and get that party started. All right, guys, put your seatbelts on. We're going on a trip. And our little rocket ship, little Einsteins. Little Einsteins. All right, crew.